Soundboard back, baby. And I feel like we're gonna need it this episode. I feel like we're gonna need it this episode too. Let's go. Hold on. Let me play a little classic for Jmaine real quick.
Need a nigga ass or something.
You know that one had to make the return.
Damn, I almost beat those charges too. Them shits is back.
Them shits is back. You know you say something stupid, I'm hitting that button, bro. Hold up.
I need a soundboard on my end now. I need some things that I can play for with KOFI on his fuck shit now. I need
yes, sir. Yes,
that ain't fair. This shit one-sided.
You know what? You know what? This one's gonna come in handy today.
Fuck are you talking about? That shit stinks.
That was definitely gonna come in handy today.
Shit is a 2-pack of ass. I think I clipped that for Kid Smooth when he came back to the timeline last week and doubled down. I was crying like this nigga said, "If you don't like what I said, block me."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shout out to Smooth. That boy is wild.
Today is going to be a great episode, people. We're going to give you guys some interesting, engaging conversations. A lot has transpired this week, even just today. And once again, today is another open mic episode. So if you want to be a part of the podcast, we're going to leave a segment for you guys to come in and get your shit off about any of the topics that we discuss. So how you do that is you join the Discord. Discord, I already pinned it. Hop into Discord. I'm give you guys a role. Then you jump into the open mic waiting room and wait for us to drag you in. At that point, you can come in and get your shit off. All right. We already got 3 people waiting in the waiting room for the open mic segment of the show, so you already know it's gonna be a good one, bro. It's gonna be a good one. But before we get started, I do like to shout out some people in the chat watching the podcast live. Please let us know if we sound good. I need to be extra clear today. Out of all days, I need to be extra clear. So please let us know if our mics are sounding nice and crispy. All right. So before we get started, I want to shout out Blade X, Captain Sidekick, Samurai Black, Zubin Jacob, Max, Delayed Saint, It's Black, Ace, E-Rock, Dismal Dave. Once again, shout out to all the people who are channel members. I really do appreciate that. Become a channel member today and support the guys. Shout out to all the mods in the chat. I see Benji. I see my boy, Yokio, new Yokio, Tony.
Yokio.
Butch in the chat. DMY9. Thank you for letting us know that we sound good. Appreciate it. Who else here needs a quick shout out? Retromatic Jmaine. Do you see anyone that I haven't shouted out? We see Low.
I ain't even looking at the thing.
That's our guy. I was trying to
pull some topics together.
CB3. What's good?
Shout out to y'all.
Bias Gamer 77. King Kovu. You know what I mean? This is the usual suspects. PS Rewind, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in week after week to the pod to listen to us get our shit off. You know what I mean? You know?
Absolutely.
So, Jmaine.
What's good, fam?
Since the last podcast, what have you been playing? What have you been on? How's life? Let's start off here first.
Life is great, brother.
That's good.
I booked my cruise. So in July, we are out of here. Family cruise, 7-day joint. I'm really feeling the 7-day cruises. I've been on a 7-day one before. But it's like a big family thing. So they wanted to do 7 days and go to the Florida, Bahamas and shit like that. But I got to get this body right. You know what I'm saying? Nick, can I? I'm a shark in these waters, baby. Oh, you gotta. You
are the most interesting black man that I know, Jmaine. You skydive, you go canoeing, you can swim, nigga.
Fam.
What's going on, bro?
Black people don't swim. You know what I mean?
Black people don't swim. Let's give it a buck. We stand in the pool, bro. if that, we just stand in the pool in the shallow end. Let's keep it a buck. But Jmaine, I gotta give you props. You're the most interesting black man that I know around here, bro. That's crazy.
On,
you do.
Man.
I don't know, man.
I'm adventurous. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy. He knows how to swim.
You know what's funny? White people actually got me my swimming lessons.
You see what I'm saying, bro? I'm telling you, shout out to your wifey, bro. Your wifey has leveled you up to some next level shit, bro. Your wifey's definitely leveled you up.
It wasn't her. It was back when I was younger, like
okay,
early elementary school days. I had a good friend of mine. It was a girl, this white girl that we knew, and her parents was made off, my nigga. When I tell you they was made off, like they used to buy us all shit, like any school projects. We was going over to her house, and the parents was funding it, school supplies. Nigga, they bought me and my boy swimming lessons, so we went over there, got the swimming lessons done, and yeah, I've been a shark ever since. Crazy.
That's good, man. You know, back in the day, my parents actually put me in swimming lessons, but that's another thing I dropped. Dropped it faster than Redfall, clearly. I couldn't do the swimming lessons, bro.
Swimming lessons.
I couldn't do the swimming lessons, man. I don't know when the water went up my nose. I got big nostrils as it is. It used to feel uncomfortable, bro.
Nah, that shit is still terrible to this day. When you get that water up your nose,
God,
you be ready to be done for the day.
And honestly, like I've opened my mind to try to learn how to swim. I went to community pools some summers, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna learn how to float. We're gonna start off with floating. Bro, Jmaine, I don't know what's up with my body. I cannot physically float. It's actually
you gotta
impossible.
relax.
Jmaine, they say relax. They be telling me that relax. So I be relaxed.
Become one.
I throw myself.
With the ocean.
I throw myself in the water. Relax. I dip my head back, like they tell you to dip your head. Relax. Bro, I always
panic.
sink to the bottom, bro. I just something. I don't have no buoyancy or something. I don't know. I just dropping in the water, bro. But it is what it is. That's dope. That's dope. What have you been playing though?
Oh yeah, you already know I had to dip my toes in that Redfall, and like black people, I came right back out. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit, and played that a little bit more of Horizon, Burning Shores, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I went back to that after the patch.
How is it?
And bro. It's a little bit better.
You gotta wait, Jmaine. The reality of the situation is you gotta wait until like the 5th patch before that shit gets better. If you haven't noticed, these hot fixes don't really do much. They address a few major issues, but until like the 6th or 5th patch in, that's when like you get actually a noticeable change with these fucking games. But yeah, it wasn't much of a difference.
I'm still tripping. Yeah, I'm still tripping off of like the resolution and stuff like that of the game. It's like not. Like they didn't do much there, and then the performance is like I said, it's a little bit better, but it's not anything crazy. So I'm gonna drop that for now, especially with Tears of the Game of the Year coming in hot. Tears of the Game of the Year coming in hot. I got other things that I could prioritize right now other than playing fact. Broken games. So
that's a fact. Good. And I know we definitely have a segment where we're gonna be talking about a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom, but Jmaine, let's just say your boy just got let me somehow find a way to say this without getting the Nintendo ninjas on me. You know what I mean?
Switch OLED? You got an OLED? You got switch OLED?
Let's just say I got a peek at the kingdom, bro. I got the keys to the kingdom. Let's just say that. And Game of the Year might be written in stone. Game of the Year. Jmaine, I got a little glimpse at the kingdom, and your boy ran outside. I didn't walk. I didn't hustle. I ran outside to pick up one of these bad boys. Shout out to my boy Jack Move Johnny. I apologize, Jack. I know I took your money and for that bet, but typically I'm in bounds. I waited over a year and I bought the Switch. I bought the Switch. So I ran and I went to go buy this fucking Switch OLED.
Wait,
for this game,
did that
Tears
bet
of a
end
Kingdom.
last year or was that the year before?
You know what? It ended a while, and I still didn't end up. I had no plans on buying a Switch OLED for real.
But just think, if the game had came out last year, would you have lost?
Maybe. Because
then they get delayed or some shit like that, or am I tripping? I don't know. I feel like that shit was supposed to come out last year.
Don't worry. I see you on the chat. I'm not gonna say any sort of spoilers or nothing regarding it. I'm not. I don't spoil people. Or I don't spoil games for people. You already know I don't do that. So, but I'm just saying I got a glimpse, and Game of the Year may be written in stone. That's all I'm gonna say. But Jmaine, I have been playing quite a few games. I got the platinum in The Last of Us Part 2 for a second time, but this time on my Jack Move account, so I cleaned that up. Nice. Since I've been dabbling playing my 2DS, my 2DS, I've been playing Ocarina of Time still. I recently picked up Star Fox 64 3D. I'm just recollecting a lot of my 3DS games that I used to have. So I've been,
I see you buying them dust collectors.
nah. These are must-haves. These are must-have, and especially that I got Junior coming on the way. I gotta show him greatness. You know what I mean? And this is the best. This is a great way to experience some of these games, man. So I definitely had to pick that up. When I real quick, the Switch OLED.
Yes.
Nintendo. I might have to come back to the Switch gang, man. I might have to come back to the Switch.
No, we're not doing that. We not doing that.
Jmaine,
doing that.
Hear me out first. Hear me out.
To the Switch ever since that bullshit ass Steam Deck came out, and now you trying to crawl back your way to the Steam. Get the fuck out of here. I even saw Kofi on the timeline praising the OLED screen. You said it was fine if the next PlayStation Portable.
Hear me out, man.
Oh my God.
Hear me out. I know this sounds real crazy from me. Especially for the last year and a half. I've been on the Switch's case. But goddamn, yes, it's very disappointing that the Switch OLED doesn't have any performance improvements. That's just a fact. It's not sharper. It doesn't run games better. But definitely. I will say that screen. They weren't boasting. They weren't boasting about it. Like, I've had OLED. I have OLED TV. I have experienced OLED handheld before with the PS Vita and stuff like that. But this screen is on some next level type of shit. It is very beautiful, Jmaine. So I will give him credit where credit is due. It is very vibrant, beautiful. The brightness goes super high. The colors definitely pop. The extra screen. I think this one is 8 inches or 7 inches, so the screen is a little bit bigger. Seven, yeah, something like that. But the screen is bigger. It did give me a feeling, and the console does feel a little bit more premium. It doesn't feel as plasticky as the original Switch. So
shit, I even like the new kickstand that they got back there.
Yeah, it did give me a little bit of this shit feel kind of premium to me. So I've been enjoying myself. So I did run out and buy Fire Emblem Engage. I love Three Houses. I loved Awakening. Beat those games. So I was always interested in Engage, and I just never, I was on my Switch hate shit. So I didn't end up buying that shit. You know what I mean? I didn't end up buying that shit. But ever since I got the OLED, I popped in Fire Emblem Engage. That game is a heater too. I'm fucking with it, bro. The game is nice. I'm really liking the gameplay aspect of it. So far, the story is a little weeby. It's not as grounded as Three Houses to me, even though that one had obviously some fantasy elements to it as well, of course. But this one's a little bit more weeby to me. But I'm really enjoying the gameplay in Fire Emblem Engage. So that's the game that I'm going to be playing in rotation of Tears of a Kingdom come next week, Friday. Those are going to be like the two games. I'm definitely all the way on the Switch right now, man. I'm doing a lot of gaming on the Switch. And like you though, I did play a little bit of Redfall. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, Lord. This dude is crazy.
We got a super chat donation.
I know you really gonna be back if I see you pick up Xenoblade. What was it, Chronicles 3?
I'm not buying that game. I'm not buying that game. I'm not buying that game. I can almost guarantee you I'm not buying that game, bro.
Nah, you didn't fuck with 2, so I didn't
even fuck with 2. Yeah, I had to force myself to finish that shit. But we got a super chat donation early in the podcast from Rufflema. He says, according to Nate, FE4, I believe he's saying Fire Emblem 4, is getting a remake and is expected to be a high budget game of the series. I think running on Unreal. But don't quote me. P.S. Kotaku needs to chill before Nintendo releases the ninjas. I did see that they did make a
Kotaku leaking shit.
Yeah, they did make an article on the leak of Tears of a Kingdom and stuff like that. So
yeah, they did.
I did see that, and they better be careful before they get sniped from Nintendo. And
you seen that shit from Reggie feats I made?
Oh yeah, some guy. All right, so let me break this down. Some guy pretty much tweeted the icon on the Switch of Zelda Tears of a Kingdom, and he's trying to make a joke out of it on the Twitter timeline, and Reggie pretty much did the whole Taken line. I believe it was from Taken, right? You know how
It was.
the guy who gets on the phone and he's like, yo, we have a special set of skills, blah, blah, blah. We will find you. And, yo, 2 twos, Jmaine? That man's account disappeared, bro. Holy, bro. Can't play with
either
Nintendo,
deleted
bro.
that shit or Nintendo Ninjas definitely pulled up. And I'm going to go with the latter because Nintendo don't fucking play.
They don't play. They like take two.
Play. They will shut your whole operation down. Exactly. They waiting like, nigga, what?
Yeah, they don't play.
Mighty Keith actually just put out a little skit about the Nintendo Ninjas. That shit was funny as hell.
Oh yeah, shout out to him, man. Redfall with another super chat donation. He says, "I know the deadline passed, but Kofi, you need to pay Jack now. Switch gang and roll BG now. Kofi BG. Okay, who's next? Smooth. At least he'll finally have fun. Let's not forget, I made major strides in the Switch community early on, so I always have a place in the Switch gang Nintendo community. Do not disrespect me, bro.
Nah, OGs can't always come back to the hood.
I have over
OGs
40 games
come back
on the Switch, physical, 3 collector's editions. Jmaine, I'm a Switch veteran. I just, you know what I mean? The Steam Deck kind of took me away a little bit. So, but I am back home, guys.
What you're saying is I put in work on the block.
I put in mad work. I'm like Kanan in the streets, bro. I'm like Kanan in the streets.
You took niggas out. You know what I'm saying? You done set up shop here and there and there. All
made
over the
anthems.
back to the community.
Made anthems.
But then you started false flagging and you started claiming the other side. So stay over there. We don't give a fuck about none of that shit that you did. Stay over there.
Yeah, nah. The shit is dope. I'm actually enjoying my time. Well, you know, I'm playing games that are not super high demanding down there regardless anyway. So, but I'm enjoying my time. Been doing some Mario Kart. Mario Kart's great. The DLC expansion. So I've been having a good time. But Jmaine, where do we start? Let's actually start with Redfall before we get into the whole Phil Spencer controversy and the comments that he did with this major interview. Once again, Jmaine, another week. More bad Xbox news, man.
I mean, it just don't stop. And this was supposed to be the year where shit was like popping because of how bad 2022 was. Everybody was like, listen, this is going to be the year. Everything is going to be on point. We got these games coming out. They started off the year, you know, talk about good news. We got the showcase coming up, yada, yada, yada. Even that showcase kind of had a dud because Starfield wasn't there. But this was the year, man. And outside of Hi-Fi Rush, which was a surprise, good game. Shit has been looking spooky as fuck, and I just don't know. To be honest, I don't know what the fuck to say anymore. Like,
it's kind of like I said, we said on the podcast last time. At this point, it's like just kind of tiring. We're tired of beating the same horse. I know, like, some people never get tired of like Xbox bad news content, but I really do. I'm kind of over it. It's time, like we said it time and time after again, like, yo, it's time for them just to show improve. We're kind of tired of the talking points. We're just tired of all of it shit. Yo, it's time for you guys to provide the games that we love. But Redfall, Jmaine, was Microsoft's first $70 game.
Wow.
Did they set a precedent, sir, with the quality that we should expect from them? For a $70 AAA title.
Absolutely not. In fact, this might be the worst $70 game I've ever played. And I only played this shit for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And right off the bat, this shit is absolute garbage. So let me tell you something. I'm playing this shit right on Xbox Series X. I'm playing on the console. So, you know, I'm subjected to the 30 FPS. But my problems, like I wrote a list. Like I was taking notes as I was playing. And I can get to about 3 or 4 other things that I had issues with before I even get to the 30 FPS. Before I even got into the nitty gritty of the gameplay that I was playing in this game, right? So, from starters, when you're on the start screen, there's no matchmaking in this game. So, if you were somebody that wanted to play this game with friends or like with other people that just wanted to do co-op, even if it wasn't with friends, you have to have people set up that you want to play with at that given time in order to host a game and have a complete party to play through this game, right? So that's issue number 1. Why isn't there any matchmaking in this game? Part 2, the cutscenes. What the fuck is this? Like 1973? What is this water painting comic book strip cutscene shit going on? Yeah. What is that? For a $70 game? Like, we get on Nintendo all the time for not having like voice acting and for their main protagonists and shit like that. This game is $70 and you telling me you don't have no full-fledged cutscenes for this game? you trying to tell me a story and trying to get me engaged and involved in this world, and you're telling me a story through comic book strips with water pans. Trash. Next thing, opening gameplay segment. And I don't really want to spoil anything. It's not even spoilers.
It's not even spoilers. Get it off.
We know this game is about vampires. So you see like two vampire enemies chewing on somebody's neck, chewing on his arm. you see the blood like kind of coming out of them. No bite marks on the enemies. The blood is coming out and is just disappearing. Like, where are the fine details in this game that actually make me feel like what's happening in front of me is supposed to be creepy? I'm not going to get freaked out by something like this happening in front of me in the game when there's no visual evidence of what's going on that's supposed to be taking place. So that's another issue right there, is just that the attention to detail in this game is non-existent. It's horrible. It's bad. Then we get into picking up the controller itself and controlling the character.
Terrible.
I don't know who play tested this game.
Acceleration busted. It's literally
aim
busted.
Acceleration is busted. Garbage. Whatever they had as default, get that shit out of there immediately. You have to immediately go into the settings. Yep. Yeah, and that's what I felt like. I feel like this game was designed for PC, because I'm like, there's no way anybody playing this on a controller. This doesn't feel good, and it's a first-person shooter. A first-person shooter needs to absolutely be pristine when it comes to controls, because you need everything to be pinpoint, and you're shooting a gun, and it feels slow and sluggish and laggy. And Xbox has its dead zone issues, so on top of that, it just doesn't make anything better. I don't know who tested this out, but I played with the settings a little bit. I made it a little bit better, but still, it's like it's not 100%.
Yeah, it's bad. That's the very first thing I actually mentioned. I remember I was in the Discord when I was firing up the game, and I'm right away. I started off with a controller because I'm like, you know what? Let me plug it into a controller and just relax and play. I don't want to really use a mouse and keyboard right now. Right away, as soon as moving the camera, bro, even on PC, 60 frames per second and above. Right away, moving the camera, I'm like, no, this is unplayable. It's super off. It's super off. I can only imagine on console at 30 frames per second feeling like that. I can only imagine. That must be disgusting.
I played it on my PC at 60 FPS. I had to like lower shit like to some unthinkable ways just to get it to be 60 FPS because my PC is trash. But I played at 60 FPS on PC, and I thought like my controller was like fucked up. So I like plugged in the controller directly to the PC, and it still felt off. Not as bad as the 30 FPS felt, but it still felt off. So like you said, mouse and keyboard
it felt way better. It did feel like, if I had to say something, mouse and keyboard did feel a lot better than that, but that's like a basic compliment. Just piggybacking off your complaints of Redfall. I played the game for 2 hours, right? I made my little video that I posted up. Shout out to everyone who came in and watched that. I appreciate it. I uninstalled the game for real. And just to make sure I wasn't really bugging, I reinstalled the game, played a little bit more. Then I'm like, nah, this game is definitely, this game just ain't it, bro. It's definitely not it. And you were mentioning those issues about attention to detail. Look, I could even get past that just looking about like the art direction of the style of the game, right? Because it's not going for something that's clearly photorealism. So I could even get past it not being super like intricate detailed, like a Last of Us situation. But what I can't get past is the fucking enemy AI in the game. Like that's something that I can't get past. The AI in this game, the AI is honestly borderline redacted. You know what I mean?
Redacted.
It's borderline redacted. You know what I'm saying? Like the AI in this game is extremely bad, and it's across difficulty. True. It's across difficulty levels. It's not even a thing that is tied to you're playing on normal or easy or whatever.
Because I was playing on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
And
the AI is really
letting
bad.
me like walk up on them, get behind them, and melee and take them out. Like what?
Yeah. You can make all the noise in the world, bro. And the funny thing is, I used a sniper, right? I was shooting a group of enemies, right? Popped one. The enemies don't even fucking react. If you're far enough, they don't even react like one of their people has died and shit like that. That's how bad it is. And on top of that, the AI being really bad in the game is that, what's it called? The visuals, like you did mention, the graphics are really flat. That's the best way I could explain it. Where I will say the game does look its best is in darker environments, like when you're like in corridors and stuff. That's when I say the game does look a bit better. But overall, when you're just in the open world, everything just looks extremely flat. And I don't know what's up with the character NPC designs too in this game, because they look terrible. Like the NPCs in the world, they look really, really, really bad. So
what?
I don't know, man. Redfall, it seems to have a whole bunch of issues on top of that. I even mentioned the bugs in the game. Jmaine, did you experience any bugs?
I didn't even get far enough to experience the bugs, to be honest.
I experienced bugs.
I didn't have no
bugs
in my a little bit that I played, so I can't even comment on that. But you said you did?
Yeah. Some of the vampires, I even posted like a clip on Twitter where I'm literally shooting the vampire with a shotgun, point blank range, and nothing is happening. The vampire's just there floating like that, just floated. You know what I mean? Taking mad shotgun shots. I'm like, what is this? What is this? I'm like, yo,
how did this game
come out? Yeah.
Yes.
How does it come out?
I don't this, and this is like I'm kind of gonna lean a little bit into the Phil Spencer interview, and I apologize, but
that's fine.
This is my big problem. Like they're saying, like they play tested this internally, and they expected this game to have.
That was the scariest thing from that interview.
This game to have higher than double digit. That
was the scariest
points
shit.
Of a what? So the game right now, breaking news, it dropped to a 59 on Xbox.
Jesus.
It's a 59. Yeah. So. Say, for instance, they double digits, so we go anywhere from 10 to 19. So say if they expected the game to be in the 70s, I could kind of that's kind of where I expected the game to be based on looking at it.
Yeah,
if I had played it, no fucking way I would have said this is a 70. Now, if they are on the high end of the double digits when they predicted this, we getting closer to the 80s. Oh, how? Yeah. We played this for an hour. How? I don't get it. I don't. It does not make any sense.
Like you said, we're jumping a little bit ahead, but that was one of the scariest thing about that whole Phil Spencer kind of funny interview. That you have to understand, before a game releases, it does go through all of this Q&A, testing, internal reviews. You know, it just reminded us of this, right? And you're telling me, you're the people who work at Microsoft, right? Played this shit and said, yo, this is it. This is
gonna be the first game we charge y'all $70.
Yo, $70. This is gonna be an 80 on Metacritic. Our internal. Yo, then I don't know if they got a whole bunch of yes men that are maybe trying to just keep their job there, or something like that.
Of course they do.
Or they're scared to piss somebody off. But that was like the scariest thing, because now you have me thinking. The internal reviewers, people playing games like Starfield, Hellblade, Forza, 2. Halo. Yes. So if they thought this game should have got higher, they had it 10 points, over 10 points higher than what it got. Double digits. How
crazy
were they feeling about those games? They gotta fire everybody. Jmaine, they gotta let no bonus, no severance package, none of that. They just gotta fire everybody.
You know how they be like for Metacritic scores, if you get a high enough score, you get a bonus. If you get a low enough score, they should be taking money away from you.
That's how this shit.
That's how this shit should go. You gotta lose money now. but you know, I harken back to that interview because Phil talked about some of the development processes of this game, Redfall, and how they purchased them and then kind of had like a hands-off approach and just let them do their thing. And I'm confused because it's like, what the fuck was the point of purchasing them if you wasn't going to get in the nitty-gritty and get in there and help them out on with resources, with expertise from other development studios to help them make this game better? They delayed this game from last year. What the fuck was it like last year?
That's what I'm saying. That's what is scary.
Year?
Like,
what was it like?
I said it in my video too. Like, Microsoft has a clear QA issue going on. And it could be, see, that's why people are saying, yo, is this the Game Pass effect? That now that, they got people in the ecosystem, they could just throw shit in there and be like, fuck it. We already got people already in this ecosystem. We could fix this shit later. And that's fucking scary. Because
and that's an you saying that about Redfall. But this is like a worse. This is worse.
This is like the worst cases. No, but it's like a worst case. Exactly. It's like a worst case. Like how we mentioned on the last podcast, how, gaming has changed over the years from cartridges. When you had to ship out a game, when you weren't connected to the internet, it had to been perfect, right? Now you give a developer an inch, they take them out. Now we had the internet. Now we get day one patches. We fix it later. Now Game Pass seems to be adding to the issue where they're just launching these games in these horrible states. Halo Infinite is another example, Jmaine. The game was got delayed an entire year. Let's not forget. And they were really planning on shipping that game out. How was that game gonna look at that time? It's scary. Microsoft got a huge QA problem, and they got to figure this shit out right before they lose the core audience for real, because it's becoming a issue that now gamers are getting to a boiling point. Now more than ever, I'm seeing the most hardcore of Xbox fans calling for Phil Spencer's head. Before you never seen that. Ever. Not,
I could have been calling for his head, but yeah.
But I'm just saying the hardcore, like the fans are saying, yo, Phil Spencer, maybe you're not the right man for the job. And that's how you know the shit's coming to a boiling point. That, they're starting to really lose the faith even in their fanatics, the core fanboys that love the plastic box and worship it. So it's becoming an issue, and they gotta iron things out immediately with Redfall. So what else can I say about this game, man? It's bad. I do not recommend it.
Even I like the music.
The music
I'd say something positive. I like the music. I thought the HDR was actually pretty good in the game too.
Oh yeah.
Some of those scenes where you talked about like it being dark, and then they had some moments like in the beginning where you get like picked up kind of by that female vampire, and she has like that shining little thing around
it has
her.
Its
like
moments
it
where
was actually really bright. Like the lighting was actually nice, but I can't go any further than that. What else?
Honestly, I played enough of it. It's not worth a playthrough.
Oh,
honestly,
wait, you played it co-op, so
I didn't.
Oh no, you didn't play co-op.
I played it by myself.
Oh, okay.
I played it by myself. I actually didn't experience the game co-op, and I would imagine, look, anything is fun. You're fucking throwing rocks out a window is fun if you're doing it with your friends. You know what I'm saying? So I would imagine if you're playing with your boys, you'll probably get some good laughs in there, like with any game. Let's just keep it real. But I cannot recommend this game, y'all. And shout out to Xbox Canada. They sent me the game the day of, and that's usually a telling sign when you got a shitter on your side. Low-key PlayStation Canada did the same with The Last of Us remake for PC, the PC version. They sent it the day of. They sent it the day of, and I get it. Y'all trying to lessen the damage of these releases, but you could tell that they weren't confident in this game at all, bro.
If it's confident. Right. If there's anything we could rally behind as a community, like all together, I know the fanboy shit, the console wars, and the people like to be on each side. As a community together, broken games and shit releasing unfinished
do not support, bro.
We gotta like
put a foot down.
Get on these motherfuckers' necks about that shit, because it's getting like it's always been a thing, but in 2023 it shouldn't feel like it's getting worse. It should not feel that way, and they just getting too comfortable knowing that people are still gonna buy it. I'm seeing Star Wars Jedi Survivor at the highest sales for the Star Wars game in the first week in the UK. Like nah, and we talked about Star Wars last week, but how the fuck did that game get a pass like that? Did you?
I agree.
That?
I agree. I agree.
Like,
Star Wars.
Game in the 80s,
look. That game can actually, and I do believe it. I do believe that game at its core is amazing, minus all the performance bugs and shit like that. I do believe that game is amazing. But the fact that reviewers gave it an 87 on Metacritic, I feel like, nah, that's foul. It's disingenuous. A game like that on the PlayStation 5 should be running much better. On the PC, on high-end specs, should be running much better. They should even knock 10 points off performance alone, because the difference between, something like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, like, look, this is a nuanced conversation. People might be like, yo, the Nintendo Switch gets a pass all the time, but we already kind of know the hardware limitations with the Switch, and even then, it has a certain quota that it should fill. You following me so far, right?
Absolutely.
The PS5 is a powerful device.
It is.
Your PCs with a 4090s, they're powerful devices. So there's no excuse for a game like that to be running like shit. You understand what I'm saying?
Especially when there's examples of games that look better, if I'm being honest, that run better.
Exactly. Because I always...
my bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention it because I always see people, bringing up like the Switch and its weaker hardware and conversations like that. But I think that we know like the ceiling cap of what the Switch is capable of doing at this point. So we're easy. Yeah, we can play a game at 30. When it holds at 30 frames per second, we know that's its actual target because it can't even do 60.
It can't go higher.
It can't even go. If we had the options, that's a different, but that's the only option. You know what I mean?
The Switch is not touting being the world's most powerful console.
Exactly.
It's not touting being a next generation machine. It's not touting these high-end graphics. It's not touting these faster frame rates. It's not doing that. So you can't expect that from
we do have higher expectations with when I spend out and I go and buy a GPU for $2,000. I do have a sort of expectation. When I buy a PS5, a high-end console for $600, $700, I do have an expectation that a quality that it should deliver. And when I do playing on my Switch, I do have a certain expectation too. Some of the games right now 15 frames per second, I do not accept. I do not play. I hate. Nope. I talk shit about it. How many times I've talked shit about Xenoblade and its resolution dipping down to 3080? I do not play because your baseline is 720. So I expect at least 720 on the and 30 frames per second, 60 depending the game. You know, that's your baseline. That's the maximum it can go. So that's what I expect.
And that still don't stop us like getting on Nintendo about creating stronger hardware. Like
we all want stronger. We still want hardware.
We still be doing that.
Exactly.
So it's not gonna stop that.
I'm just saying, like, that's not a good damage control, and we have to have intelligent, nuanced conversations. We do expect certain performance targets with the PS5 and PC hardware versus that. But yeah, like you said, guys, do not support these games. Mr. Who buys everything. I did not buy Star Wars. I'm not playing it. I'm not touching it. It's a game that I was super excited for to play too. Been on record saying I would love to play this game. I love Jedi Fallen Order. It was a great game. But I'm not throwing no money down for this game until they fix it. At least until they fix it. Then I'm gonna spend it. I think us, at least as the hardcore community, we have to put our foot down with these broken ass games and stop being like, and just stop fighting through the bad version. Because honestly, like, there's no real benefits in playing a game day one nowadays. If we're being honest, when you buy a game day one, Jmaine, it's the absolute worst version of that game.
It is.
Even if it's a good version of the game, it's the absolute worst version of the game, bro.
Shout out to oh no, it's Alex. But
shout out to Alex.
He used to preach that shit faithfully back on PSP days. Or it's like buying games day one is stupid.
He right about that.
This shit, he right. I can't even say he wrong no more. Like, this shit is evident. It's out there. They don't give a fuck. They gonna patch that shit later. He right, man. And
when
that's
you
why
buy a game the day one, whether it's good,
buddy, because I pay shit $35.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's good or not, just remember it. When you buy a game day one, you know what I mean? It's the worst, absolute worst version of that game. Even a good game like Spider-Man or Ratchet and Clank, for example, right? It was a great game day one, but a month later, Jmaine, didn't it get like a 60 frames per second ray tracing patch? Ray tracing mode. But all sorts of shit. So there's honestly no real benefit in buying games day one. Look, listen, I'm not here to tell you what you do with your money. You do what you want. There's games that I'm still gonna buy day one.
Yes,
right? It's my money. You know what I mean? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You already know it. Yes, sir. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's my money. So, but I'm just saying, for the bad games, at least let's have some standards. I think as a community, we need to do that and send a message. Let's have some standards for the bad games and not support them out the gate like this. You know what I'm saying?
Tired of seeing those tweets with the studio name at the bottom right corner and the game name at the top. We apologize. We hear your feedback. We're gonna make these things
this is annoying.
Right.
It's annoying. It's annoying.
And then EA had the nerve to. I felt like EA was like coming at people with high-end PCs and telling people to update their drivers. Like, motherfucker, you got some nerve to be telling people to update their drivers. Like, motherfuckers don't know to do that already. If I'm spending $3,000 on a GPU, you think I don't know to update my drivers?
Yeah, honestly. Type 1, we got a super chat donation. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the continued support. Shout out to the 200 live concurrent viewers watching the podcast. Make sure you guys hit that like button, man. Hey, man, don't be stingy with the like. We back here giving y'all that entertainment on Thursday, and we're gonna get some people starting to roll in. Right now, we got about 5 people waiting in the line around the open mic. Yeah, the line is around the corner, so everyone's gonna get their chance to speak. We just want to get our shit off first. So shout out to all the people waiting. We're gonna drag you guys in the pod shortly. All right. So Type 1 says, I'm interested in behind the scenes stuff, and there's definitely something more going on over there at Xbox. Phil Spencer was sweating like a hoe in church in that interview. LOL. Keep up the show, y'all. Listen, I think that interview, and I tweeted this, that it was not planned. I think that was reactionary. I think they set that up on the fly. That was a reactionary interview because Xbox has been under scrutiny, it's been under bad press for honestly the past 30 days. Let's say it's just been terrible news, back to back out of the Xbox camp. So I know Phil Spencer had to come. That was like the standpoint, like at this point, niggas are pissed, right? So like, he had to get out in front of it and do something. So he probably thought that was a good spot to come out and speak to almost once again let gamers know we're listening.
But he don't look around and see that nobody else is doing shit like
that's what I'm saying. We don't see Nintendo. We don't see Doug Bowser. We don't see.
I don't think they're a good idea.
That's what I'm saying. Like I always felt like, yo, low key Microsoft. Like I get it with the whole communication thing, but sometimes I always feel like since they do talk too much, they always end up having their foot in their mouth, bro, or end up contradicting something they said because they're always fucking talking. And I did see a tweet from that man Tim Dog. Shout out to him. I did see a tweet. He's like, Elise, Phil Spencer came out in front of and said this. We don't see Jim Ryan doing that. My nigga, Jim Ryan doesn't have to do that because guess what? The PlayStation mans are performing.
They're
not taking L's.
Unless these motherfuckers is presenting new games,
we don't need to see you. That's what I'm saying. So the fact,
give a fuck. I don't care. Give me good games, present new games, and shut up.
That's the only time I should see your face. I shouldn't be seeing your face to come out and apologize something. The only time that I should be seeing your face is you announcing a new game. That's a fact. So the simple fact that Jim Ryan is not in kind of funny talking about saying sorry for this, that's actually a dub on dumb. That's a dub.
I feel like when they come out and talk like this, it's like they pissing on me and telling me it's raining. I already know shit is fucked up. I'm a gamer. I already know. You might as well just put out a blog post and keep it pushing. I already know it's fucked up. When you come out and you try to do all this damage control bullshit, you're just making it worse for yourself. I'm gonna just tell you that.
Yeah,
you're putting your foot in your mouth every time you open it.
Exactly. So the fact that they don't have to come out and do all of this stuff is a W. First of all, Xbox coming out here and doing all these PR runs saying that we have to do better is not a good look. It doesn't matter. Yes, we get it. He's showing that he's humble, humility. I get the look. What it brings. But in the end of the day, if you were performing, you don't need to do this stuff. You don't need to do this.
You really
know
don't.
what I mean? So I guess that puts a bow tie in the whole Redfall conversation. The game sucks. It's a stinker. You know what I mean?
Fuck are you talking about? That shit stinks.
All right. So we're going to move on and get to this whole Phil Spencer kind of funny interview. And I'm going to drag Low because I remember he had something to say about it. I'm gonna drag Low. I want this to be as clean as possible. Then I'm gonna drag Def Singer in here for now. If you're in the waiting room,
what you mean clean as possible? We can't give out the smoke.
No. Clean as possible is like I want everyone to get their chance to speak and stuff like that's what I mean.
Unless you're saying some bullshit, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah. So, if you're in the waiting room right now and you want to be part of this specific topic, can you just send me not a message, but just at me in the Discord? Like, yo, I want to be a part of this particular topic. I already know Def Singer and Low wanted to be on this conversation, but if you want to be on this conversation as well, just let me know. Then I'm gonna drag you in. All right. Okay. So Jmaine, just introduce the segment. Introduce the segment, the topic at hand. Let people know what's going on if they've been living under a rock, real quick, while I get some water.
Absolutely. So, if you didn't know, Phil Spencer actually came on to Kind of Funny Xcast, which is the Kind of Funny Xbox podcast show that they have going on, and they wanted to speak to him about all the recent events that have been going on in the Xbox world, whether it be the Activision Blizzard King deal being essentially blocked by the CMA. Of course, they wanted to talk to him about Redfall and the reception that game has been getting, and just also the overall reception of Xbox in general. I know they officially announced the Xbox Game Showcase, which we kind of already knew about, but they officially gave it the Xbox Game Showcase a date, which is Sunday, June 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then the Starfield Direct is going to follow it up after. So I did watch this interview. Actually, who in here with me right now? Is anybody here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm back too.
Okay,
yep.
I see ya. All right. So I did watch this interview. I'm assuming everybody in here watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest. I thought I was a little bit nervous. Not nervous, but I was a little bit. How can I say this? What happened?
Wait, yo, Benji, Dave, y'all don't want to be part of the pod? I don't know. Y'all were waiting in the waiting room.
I just it's just
Okay. Y'all just mute up and let Jmaine get his shit off first. Then I'm gonna give everyone a chance to get their shit off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So I listened to the interview and I watched it at work, and they I can't be mad at the questions that they asked. I kind of wish they would have pressed him a little bit more on some things, but they did ask him about the CMA deal, and they kind of went over that a little bit. And
yeah, I want to cut you off shortly. I always hear that sentiment from people. Jmaine, you don't interview someone like Phil Spencer without pre-sending them the questions, and these are the talking points. You don't interview Phil Spencer without that. So all the people that are expecting an off-the-cuff type of conversation to come out of someone like that, someone in his position, just a freestyle, it's not happening. It doesn't work like that.
No, not off the cuff, but when they did ask him the questions that I'm sure he expected to get.
I'm pretty sure
some of the responses, I felt like they could have pressed back a little bit more just to have him go deeper into his explanation. Like when he started talking about Redfall and how they were hands off when they first brought them in, and like, how do you not press back and say, how as a leader or a head of a business do you not play something like this and see that this shouldn't be released to the people? Like, I feel like when he gave his response, they was kind of like, oh, okay. And they kind of like moved on.
Yeah, that's why I just want to let people in the chat watching, like, once again, like, when you at that level, them questions, he already knew everything that they were gonna ask. Yeah, at that level, they don't just freestyle it at that level. So I get that people want this kind of raw type of conversation to happen and this dialogue to happen. But I'm sorry, his position is too high, just like a lot of like celebrities and stuff like that, and you don't get that kind of opportunity. But you're right. It would have been nice if they pushed a certain to get deeper answers on certain of the questions that they did ask. But overall, I felt that listen, the interview was a good interview. He did what he had to do. But it's just, once again, we've been here before type of situation, right? Like, we've been here before. You already said that you're here. This is not the first time you're acknowledging that, we have an issue and we're working and we're trying to get better. We're just waiting for the results at this point. But he did come out and talk about this shit. And do you remember like key points that you want to go over? I know you did mention.
So they did ask him about,
that was like the first thing.
Yeah, the CMA shit. So with the CMA, he just talked about the cloud stuff and how the CMA was pushing back against the cloud. What he said about the cloud too was interesting, because he said that the CMA was pushing back against a market that hasn't like fully matured into itself. And
which
so
is a
okay,
lie.
we got Paris. We got Paris in the chat. He says actually he didn't know anything we asked. Okay, so that's surprising then. And then that's surprising, because I would imagine that you interview someone like Phil Spencer, you don't get that kind of opportunity. You don't get that kind of opportunity to just ask whatever you want. So if that's the case, then Phil Spencer's pretty brave. Then, and at that point, then they should have been killing him with the questions. Then at that point, then if y'all had him free up like that, y'all should have been killing him with the questions.
Like, but just to see them ask him about the whole Redfall reception actually shocked me, because I wasn't.
Now he had to address.
I ain't going front. I know, but I wasn't expecting that, and you know what I'm saying, I really wasn't, and that's why I want to give him credit for that. But just like I said, I wanted to, because they did even ask him about Starfield, and they asked him about how people are going to be wondering if that game is going to be running at 60 FPS, and will they have an answer come this summer and stuff like that. And he did say, like, people will know by the summer if Starfield will have 60 FPS. I don't know. Maybe do you push back and say, can you confirm something here today that it will be running? He might not answer, but I know. I just like the question to be asked. Don't leave nothing off the table to the point where there's doubt and like, okay, well, I wonder if it's going to be this or that. At least let him give a concrete. Let him be the one to say no, or we're not answering that right now. Just throw it all out there. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel.
Okay. Because there's a certain level. Like, I understand there's a certain level of professionalism that you have to conduct yourself. And
absolutely,
this is how you get those kind of gigs. You know what I mean? You have to be able to convey yourself well and ask the important questions. But yeah, like you said, I fully expect that. Ever since I heard that, like, he was coming to do an interview with Kind of Funny, I'm like, he has to address Redfall. Redfall just launched. It's one of your biggest releases of the year. You have to address the conversation surrounding it. The fact that no 60 frames per second at launch, which was a big deal. On top of that, the reviews for the game was freaking terrible. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that was definitely going to be a conversation at hand. And what he discussed was you know what, I feel him. You know what was an interesting thing? I found, Jmaine, that when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, I thought there would be a lot more hands-on. I know Bethesda's kind of operating on them, like in a way, like by themselves a little bit with like not too much integration, but it seemed like that was like maybe a big factor in all of this. So, what do you think about that?
That didn't make sense to me. Yeah, that didn't make sense to me because I remember when people first heard about like PlayStation buying Insomniac, and a lot of people had the sentiment like, well, what does it matter? Insomniac is already making games for PlayStation exclusively. And I had got into a few arguments on the timeline. I'm like, no, what this says to me is when a big publisher like Sony or PlayStation is buying a studio, is that now they can afford to provide them the resources that they learn from other studios around, and they can integrate different strategies and learn from here and there. And now they have the more funds to live out the games that they're trying to create. It wasn't something that I felt like, okay, this is just another game that they're going to have on their portfolio to offer exclusive games, and they're just going to go out and do their own thing. What the hell is the point of buying them if that's the case? So when I heard that, like, Redfall, they kind of just, they walked. Yeah. So essentially what they did is they walked in, said, stop making that PS5 version, and y'all good. Go ahead and do what y'all want to do.
Focus on Xbox and the Game Pass. And they just walked out.
And they walked out like, what? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's another thing. Like,
it seems like it.
Why buy them then? Like, if you're not going to be hands-on and give them more resources to do what they need to do.
I did hear him mention, at least with Starfield's case, that they had a little bit more of a hands-on approach when it comes to the development of that game, and hopefully that shows. Hopefully that shows with the release that it really takes advantage of the hardware. Maybe you might actually hit that 60 frames per second. I thought we were gonna get a clear answer from that interview, because I think one of the panel members kind of alluded. It seemed like he was trying to ask the question. It's like, yo, going forward, are we going to be more clear with the whole 60 frames per second thing? And I know he did mention Starfield as a game, but Phil did come out and confirm, say, yeah, we're gonna let people know off the rip. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty interesting as well that he did acknowledge that all the trailers, and we spoke about this last podcast, Jmaine, all the trailers for Redfall, right, were not representative of what the Xbox console version was going to be. All the trailers were 60 frames per second, and even what's it called, like the tags on the storefront had 60 frames per second until they took away last minute and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, put the stickers on them.
Yeah, and they're saying, and he acknowledged that they got to do better with that as well. And Microsoft definitely has to start showing the games running on the box like more too, for the people who actually invest in the console.
And going back to Paris, because I think Paris, to be honest, did the best job with getting to the point of his questions, because he even asked too about people feeling like Xbox is not the core focus of Microsoft right now. We discussed
this too.
Yeah. And how could they not feel like that when they do things like this with Redfall, and you showing them the PC version, or you showing it running at 60 FPS, not representative of the experience you're getting on console? And Phil, in that same interview, saying Xbox console is still the core of the business.
Yep.
How can you say that? And this is the product that the Xbox console gets. How can you do that? how can you do that?
Like, not to like give too much takes of what I said last podcast, but I do agree that they definitely look. I primarily play on PC. That's like my preferred platform. But honestly, I do feel for the Xbox gamers that they got to do better at making, the console dudes feel like, first class citizens, like they got to make them feel good. Yeah. Like, they did go out and spend money on this box. Y'all launched the console with not a new controller, same controller that we've been using for the past, with just slight refinements. Same UI that we got in, which recently just getting an update, I think. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta do stuff to make people
new exclusives.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where's all the games, right? Like, you gotta make the console guys feel good sometimes, man. And it's quite sad to see. But we do have some people in the it's an open mic night, so we do have some people in here waiting to speak. And I will be giving everybody a turn. All right, I want to start off with Lo. You watched the interview. How do you feel about it overall? And were you happy with Phil Spencer's comments? And
listen.
Did it put your heart at ease?
Listen. Before we start, everybody, show some love. Leave a like. Let's get the super chat.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Sure.
You know
Appreciate
what I mean?
that.
But listen, Phil Spencer is the biggest liar in gaming history.
Jesus Christ.
He's the biggest
Sound
liar
like
in gaming. The first lie he said, and he do sneak stuff. So in an interview, he said that Xbox didn't have their hands on the development process of Redfall, right? But the question that was asked to him was pretty much, why didn't y'all delay the game if it was going to be a buggy mess? So the excuse of, well, we didn't really have the hands on the development cycle of Redfall doesn't really fly with me. And the proof of that is they waited until day of release to release the embargo for the reviews. History shows that
they know what they're doing. They know
exactly.
what they're doing.
History shows that when publishers do that, they know that the
They're
game
hiding.
is going to review bad, and they're hiding some stuff.
They're hiding.
So you're not going to tell me that y'all didn't know that the game was buggy, broken, and a mess. I understand what he's saying. If the gameplay is bad, 3 months isn't going to fix gameplay elements, but taking an extra 3 months would have potentially fixed some of the bugs.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Later in the interview, I think it was Paris, he asked, pretty much I think Jmaine, you just touched on it. Is Xbox the console? How should the players feel on the Xbox console? They feel disrespected, they feel slighted. Somehow he gave a double speak answer of this is the most loser liar shit ever. He said, it don't matter if Starfield is at 11 out of 10. People aren't going to talk
about this part. Go ahead.
People aren't going to stop playing PlayStation to move over to Xbox. And the reason why nobody's asking Phil Spencer or Xbox to make games to not have people on PlayStation. You can have two consoles in a household. So the fact that he skips over that is a spit in the face to gamers. So that's number two.
I'll let you finish. Get your shit off. I do have a point to say. Okay,
go ahead.
For that point, I felt like the context of that whole conversation kind of went over people's head. I feel like people kind of just latched onto that comment. Just hear me out. I feel like what Phil Spencer is saying about, pretty much that, at this point, if you part of this ecosystem, I know you can still own multiple consoles. I get that. But it's the same thing that I've said actually on PSP and tweeted years ago. When he came out and said that the Xbox One console was the worst console generation to lose, I'm like, yo, bro, I said this exact same thing. In 2019, I said this exact same thing. Because that was essentially the start where we got to a point where this continuity started, is really kicked off in the generation. So now, when you buy a game, you're literally taking it across multiple different console generations and stuff like that. So I always felt that, this was a very pivotal moment for Microsoft to not deliver. So him saying that, like, we're not trying to, if we make a great game, it's not gonna like get people off the PlayStation. It's not gonna make people. I think he was just trying to make the point that, like, at this point, if you're in this ecosystem, you have your achievements there, you have your trophies there, you have your maybe hundreds of games digitally at this point. You can buy another console, but you're pretty much sticking with what you got. You know what I mean? Yeah, them delivering great games can help improve the sales of Xbox, but it's not necessarily going to take people away from the PS5. I think that's what what he was trying to say.
And that's the point. That's
go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
The issue I had with that is I feel like that's a loser mentality, because sure, maybe not over one generation is it going to change, but if you keep providing the consistency of delivering those good games and getting people to buy your hardware, then maybe the next generation you can change your fortunes. Exactly. I feel like the ground that they gained with the OG Xbox is showing people like, okay, we got this Halo over here, we got other things. They carried it over into the 360, provided more multiplayer games, had those third-party exclusive games that were only on the 360, whether it was third-party or first-party, Gears, Halo, those generation-defining games. They took all of that goodwill and they shitted on it with the Xbox One, focusing on TV and stuff at the beginning, creating a box that was $100 more. We can't even definitively look at Xbox and say that they tried hard enough to even penetrate a market share, to even give them the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
But Jmaine, how many see, because I feel like gamers are, it's so funny hearing people say that. I've been on Twitter so much, and you be on Twitter and you always hear people express how, internationally, Microsoft is getting smoked. In Europe, they're getting dominated by PlayStation. In Japan, they have no foothold. The only place that they're really competing is America, really, where they can truly compete. Yeah, and even then, it's tough competition with the PlayStation. So I've seen people express this concept that Xbox, when it comes to console sales, they can't beat PlayStation. PlayStation is just honestly a household brand, a super power brand at this point. Hold on, let me finish. It's super power brand that honestly, the reality is Xbox gonna end up selling. Even if they drop so many games, they're gonna sell more copies, more consoles in Japan than PlayStation. Is it likely? Real quick. So. What he was trying to say, and I forgot to mention this in my earlier show, I think they're trying to shift gears, and we've been seeing them trying to shift gears because they know they can't compete in that sector. Going console for console with PlayStation, I think they know for a fact, and we even said this prior for them saying. So them coming out and admitting this, Phil Spencer coming out and admitting this, you don't like this. You don't like this though.
They haven't tried to compete with PlayStation console for console.
Console to console. So they feel like and this is a losing battle.
Other than 360, when have they tried?
Look, Kofi, I agree with you. I agree with you. They probably can't win console for console. But you know what doesn't help you at all? Releasing bad games.
That's a fact. Honestly, listen, the problem is always the game. The problem is at the end of the day, Microsoft's core issue at hand is providing excellent AAA top quality games. That's always an underlying thing. But them just saying that we don't know if we could gain this type of popularity that the PlayStation has. I don't think we could sell as much consoles. So you know what? Let's switch up our game plan. We're not gonna play their game. We're gonna play a totally different game. Our game is that we're gonna focus on services. We're gonna use our expertise and knowledges and in that aspect in cloud and stuff. And I understand why they switched their gears. Like I understand why they would do that.
He
though.
said
That's what I'm
in
saying.
the same interview that Xbox consoles is the core of Xbox.
Of course you gotta say that. Of course he's gonna have to say that though. So what's he gonna come on that platform and say like, we don't really give a fuck about you niggas?
He's the biggest liar in gaming history. That's my point. That's my point.
Bro, you have to make all the ticks.
That's my point.
Addict trying to get in. What's good, Addict?
What's up, Addict? We got Gaming Addict in here too.
I think that when it comes to, I don't think he was saying it in those words. I really wish that Paris would have been able, because if you look at the interview, Paris tried to do a follow-up, but there was just so less time he couldn't actually get to the actual follow-up. I think he was just looking like, look, we don't have a worldwide appeal. We have a hard time competing with them in certain areas. We're still going to attempt to make the games to get people on, because in no way, shape, or form he said they're not going to stop making games. Right. He said, look, we're going to do things differently, in a different approach, and take on the competition and stuff, like when it comes to value and when it comes to subscription service. It's definitely up to debate, especially Redfall. I heard a little bit more behind the scenes with Redfall. It seemed like, how can I word this? It doesn't seem like Microsoft really cared about Redfall. I don't think they had a
So you cancel a Gaming Addict?
The thing is
they need a Game Pass release.
It's not a Game Pass release thing. It is that, but at the same time, they are still going to make some form of money on that.
Right.
And look, I think they should have canceled it. Me personally, because you save your brand over.
Yeah, you do more damage.
Or
exactly.
you get some of that money back.
Exactly.
I don't know. Canceling a game like Redfall, that shit.
Not canceling it.
A lot of damage.
Jmaine, not up to this point. They should if they knew that, because I heard the rumors that Gaming Addict is talking about too. They're saying when they first pulled up and they seen Redfall, the rumors were they weren't too impressed.
Like
At that point, you should have canceled it. We're not saying after showing mad trailers, then cancel it after announcing the game. Yes, I agree with you. It would have got bad reception. Like, yo, this is another game y'all just showed us and y'all canceling. Yeah, but apparently, this is the rumors. So take it with a huge grain of salt. When they bought Bethesda or whatever, they came and saw what they were cooking, like you're saying, right? They saw what they were cooking, and they're saying they weren't even fucking with it like that. At that point, they should have canceled it.
Why did they let them cook?
Why you keep on letting them cook?
But look, I don't know what kind of arrangements they made with Bethesda in order to buy that. You got to look at it the stat. I'm not justifying them releasing that game. That game, it gave me I was nauseous. I had to uninstall it like an hour and a half.
Horrible.
I'm not
Needed some drama,
but you got to look at it from that perspective, where you're a company trying to buy another corporation. And how bad would it look from a morale standpoint if they walked in like, this is canceled, that's canceled, you can't do that, I want you working on that? Like, it's a flow thing. They can't just go in there barking orders from the start. Look, did this hurt Xbox? Abso-fucking-lutely. They definitely shouldn't have released this game. This game should have. And here's the thing. This game was getting released and Microsoft was just taking the bite. Because at the point, they're not going to keep funding it. If they don't release it in this month, when the hell else are they going to release this damn game? Almost every month, something big is coming out, from Final Fantasy to Zelda to Starfield. They don't want to compete with their own self because they're thinking they're going to get this Diablo next month. So they're like, look, are we going to really go in and have these people spend another 4 to 5 months working on a game we actually don't believe in, or are we just going to take the bite and have this studio go work on something else?
Okay,
Man. Oh shit! Listen, I think
that's a good point.
It might have looked bad if they did walk in there and cancel that shit, but I think for a game like this, you might have had based on what y'all telling me. If they knew back then, you might have had to. You might have had to.
They went in there and they're going out here and they say, we're letting these studios do this, we're letting these studios do that, we're letting them creative freedom, and they go in there secretly and just start canceling all these projects. What's going to happen to the staff?
We're not saying cancel all the projects, just cancel the bad ones.
But here's the thing: tell
them to go back to the drawing board, like Shuhei did.
That's what I'm saying.
With God of War, they told him, look, this shit is ass. Like, take this. This is Cory Barlog. They told him this shit was ass. Take it back to the drawing board and figure this shit out.
But Jmaine, that's the spooky thing, because they thought this game was good the way it was.
Be a 70. That's what he said in the interview.
That's what was scary. That's what I was saying at the top of the podcast, that like, if honestly, they have to fire every one of those people who play tested that internally, who reviewed that and thought that was going to be good.
Contractors, like they're mostly contractors.
Okay, that's how it works. Okay.
Don't contract me. I'll tell you the truth.
I reached out and found out how those work. A lot of the time, they're like ex-journalists that know of the process. Like, it seems like their whole existence is to give you a ball game of where this game's going to score Metacritic wise. Clearly, every single one of them
was wrong.
Like I don't know what's going on with them. They all need fired.
Yeah, every single one of them need to lose their job. I'm keeping 1,000. Like, if you had someone internally said this was good, and this
70,
and it was 10 points or double digits higher than you thought, then y'all need to let them mans go. Because easily, you could have got a guy off the street, a regular game off the street, to play this, and they could have told you this wasn't it.
That's my issue with the process. Why are you trying to hint at what the Metacritic score is going to be, and why ain't you bringing people that are actually up to date with what's going on and what people like now? Why ain't they playing this game to give you an update? It's like they care more about the score than they care about what actually people are playing now.
Well, based on what you were saying about behind the scenes, they probably do. They probably was like, listen, if at least the game scores in the 70s, 80s, we could salvage some money back.
I think, and I no one's told me anything, but I think that Redfall, they were pretty much like, look, Redfall is going to develop. They looks like they did send people of their help coalition to see and Rare help them with some stuff. But it's like, you guys going to do whatever you do. We're over here on Starfield. If you need us, we're over here at Bethesda, because this is the game we need to hit. Okay, that game is going to hurt us, but if this game flops, it's a wrap. Like,
yeah. I don't know. You know what I actually want to know, since I know Paris was in here earlier. I don't know if he's still in here, but if he is end up listening to this, I actually want to know. When it came to this Phil Spencer interview, I wonder if my theory is right. Was this an interview that was planned for weeks and months to get somebody else? To get someone, it was. Yes, it was. Okay, so you know this. It was. Okay. Because I really thought Oh,
That's
maybe the
interesting.
top. I really thought like it was reactionary because it seemed like it was reactionary. That's what I kind of concluded in my head. It seemed like,
think-
but maybe the questions were reactionary in terms of like, yo, what's happening at the time? Because what were they going to talk about before? Like, what were they going to talk about before?
They did
I
talk
do-
about him
I do
possibly
agree-
pulling out. Oh,
I
my
do
bad.
agree with you that it's reactionary, even if it was planned, because there's
Oh, so-
no way
okay.
Phil Spencer didn't know 6 months ago this game was going to come out and be hot like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They-
Because this couldn't have been
maybe
the
more-
center of the conversation. You know what?
Yeah,
It couldn't have been the center of the conversation.
It's-
Okay, it was
it's-
planned
it's
weeks ago.
Not
Okay.
a coincidence that a couple days after this game launches, that they have this interview. Like they strategically planned this. You know, maybe Phil didn't talk to them like about
Yep,
this, but I do think he was willing to come on this show because he knew Redfall was going to come out hot like this.
Yeah, 'cause the timing of everything is crazy. Even if you see, Paris says it was planned weeks ago, and I would assume if you're getting Phil Spencer on your podcast or your thing or whatever, like you would have it would go through some planning. You have to talk to whatever PR agents he deals with and stuff like that. And it's a process. I would assume because he's the head of fucking Xbox.
I need some people in the community to apologize to Paris because they say he wasn't gonna ask hard questions.
You're right. My fault, Paris.
I definitely gave him his props. I gave him
My
his
fault,
props.
Paris.
I gave him his props. Definitely,
Yeah.
And
The question
we didn't
they
mention
asked
it
were
yet,
the
but
right. The question
he
was
asked.
right.
He also asked about the games that we've seen from Microsoft in the past. Like, where are they? Games like Avowed, games like they announced Everwild, stuff like Hellblade. Like he asked the questions about where are those games at? Like we've seen those Perfect Dark. Like you know what I'm saying? It's been a while since they showed.
Love Stomp on Mike to death, but he was like, "Let me do these quick questions." I'm like, no, give it back to Paris. He's asking good questions.
Honestly, Phil Spencer was in the hot seat, bro. Like even at one point, this was an interesting line that he did that some people paid attention to. That he's like, yo, damn, if I keep making some fuck ups like this,
first time
right?
I've ever heard him say.
He seems like he sound like he's like, yo, if I keep on making these fuckers, they might get someone else to replace me, like type of situation. He literally said it on the pod.
Come on,
He said, yeah, he actually kind of alluded to that. Am I lying? He kind of alluded to that.
He know he's stealing them people money, yo. He's stealing them people money. Yo.
That sounded spooky the way he
I
said
don't
it.
know if
He's stealing
here's
them
the thing,
people
even
money,
though
yo.
Phil Spencer, in my personal opinion, is really dropping the first party output, he's still leading the division in record breaking profits. Besides this quarter, like,
What does that? What does that mean for the gamer addict?
But no one gives a shit about the game, and they
Right.
care about
Nobody
their
gives a
money.
shit
Like
about
the people that would
But
actually.
that's the
fight this
disconnect.
man-
Then that's the
But
disconnect.
here's the thing. I agree with you. But when you're looking at the top and you're seeing the money he brings in, why would they get rid of him? I think if anything, if Starfield comes out and it's glitchy and it doesn't work and it's underwhelming, I don't think nothing's happening to Phil Spencer, but I think someone is going to be filling that spot to work with Matt Booty to actually do the job.
That's what I was going to say.
Nah, I don't know what Matt
Yeah,
Booty
I
did.
think
That's what I was
you're
gonna
right.
say.
I think Phil Spencer should move off of looking like in relations with the games. Like I don't think he should be there because business wise, y'all right. He doing everything he's supposed to be doing correct. But when it comes to
Phil Spencer,
the games, I don't think he should be the one in there that's leading that.
I find it hard to believe that they're able to buy something like Bethesda. I do feel like he got in there with the big shots. And let's be real, Phil Spencer's a phenomenal speaker, and he can make everything sound good. Imagine he speaks like that in an interview. Imagine him in a boardroom meeting. Like
That's a skill.
Just like,
That's a skill.
He's able to get this money. It's just like, look, like if you can't handle, that's fine, man. Some people have different skills. Get someone else to do that part.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You definitely right about this because this is not the first kind of time that he has come out and kind of apologized to his core audience that they haven't delivered. But it seems like every time he kind of does this message again, maybe I'm just a sucker. Like I was like, I feel Matt, like I feel you, bro. Like I feel you. You know what I mean? Like
God,
maybe I'm just a sucker. He's a good speaker.
Lord.
He's a good speaker, bro. He's a good speaker.
He fooled you.
Listen, we need to get back to that market share comment that he made. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. It comes off as weak to me.
Yo, Death Singer, unmute your mic. Death Singer, unmute your mic and start talking.
Get
Okay,
these.
you know
You know what? Shit. You know what? Like
Death Singer,
everyone be
unmute
all right.
your
So everyone
mic.
be quiet.
Singer.
And let's give Death Singer his moment to speak on his thoughts of this Phil Spencer kind of funny interview. What did you think?
This interview was interesting in many respects.
Okay.
The way he rightfully explained all the fuck ups that Xbox have done. The
Yeah.
fuck up with Redfall, the fuck up with the 60 FPS promise, the fuck up with the 12-month promise.
Lies.
was like,
all the lies
okay.
he was saying.
Okay, you're owning up to this shit. Okay, cool. Then there was lots of people seeing just little snippets of the comment, especially about the market share and the whole market share. And if Starfield was an 11 out of 10, it's not going to move people. I completely agree because, like, the best you could hope for is people to also own an Xbox, because you're not going to dent the 60% market share or whatever it is.
I
Like,
agree
there's
with
no
that, I
hope.
actually do.
But that is not a winning formula. There is no dimension where you can win that. So you're like, okay, cool. So you understand. But then I also noticed when he said some people want Xbox to be the green version of PlayStation. I also see that sentiment.
Nobody wants that. That's bullshit.
I think that's a
We
lie.
want
I think
them
people
to
knew
play
about that.
great game. When
I think people knew
Xbox
about
was
that.
at their peak, hold on. When Xbox 360 was at its peak, was it the green PlayStation?
Okay, hold up.
No,
Let me ask you a question,
Xbox. Hold
Jmaine.
on. Let me finish real quick. Xbox 360 had games like Gears,
Speak
Halo,
it.
third-party exclusives like Mass Effect, BioShock.
Speak
Where the
it.
fuck was those at on
Okay, hold
PlayStation?
up.
Was that the green PlayStation?
Speak
No, it was
Let me ask
not.
you
Speak
a
it.
question then.
Amen.
Like, okay, when
One
it
at a
comes
time.
to Starfield, when it comes to Cyberpunk, like one of the biggest criticisms I hear from you is it's not third person. So are you okay with first person? Did they make more first person? 'Cause to me, every time
It might not be for me, but a great game will always be a
A
great
great
game.
game's a great game.
It
Facts.
don't
you
matter.
don't like it because it's not that. You know what? You win.
People, no,
Jay.
Hold
Listen,
on, let me say something real quick.
Great first-person game. That's never my problem. Cyberpunk, I didn't like that it was only first person. I played it though. I had issues with its bugs. If it was bug free, I might have enjoyed it.
Jmaine, real quick.
Yeah.
But I do see the conversations online. It does seem that people are looking. There's a group of gamers are looking for PlayStation
A large
and
group of
Xbox.
gamers.
A lot. They pretty much want Xbox to do what PlayStation is doing in terms of types of
In
releases,
terms of
types of
making
games.
great games.
No,
That's all it is.
But I also hear,
Mhm.
where's Xbox's God of War? Where's Xbox's Last of Us?
I think
You do hear that a
Where's
lot. You do hear that a lot.
Xbox's-
That is true.
I don't mean that
I think that's
literally.
a
I don't think they mean that literally, just in the sense that these is generational
Juggernaut.
defining games.
Game
When is the
of the year
last time
contenders.
Xbox had a game that defined the generation? When
Had a
was the
game of
last
the year
time?
contender.
I feel you on that, but if they make games, let's say Elder Scrolls is hot, Starfield's hot,
Right.
Outer Worlds hot, these games. But did you like Outer Worlds 1?
I didn't play it enough to say I liked it or didn't like
Did
it.
you like Skyrim?
I liked Oblivion. I didn't play Skyrim.
That's my point. So if you don't like these type of games, then they make these games, and these games are
No,
successful,
that's not
but they're
true.
Successful, but these games are successful, and you don't like them. So why don't you like them, Jmaine?
It's just the type. No, look. Oh,
Well, the type of game.
no,
There
no,
you
no,
go.
no. I never played Skyrim, so I can't say I like it or don't like it. What is it?
Great
Outer
game.
Worlds, you said was the other one? I
Outer
didn't
Worlds,
really play that
Obsidian.
game, so I can't say if I like it or not. That's not to say that they're bad games or I'm gonna sit up here and shit on them. I came up here and said Elden Ring. I didn't like the direction of it going in the open world. You're
I
never
feel
gonna hear me say Elden Ring is a bad
think-
game.
I think just
I'm never gonna say that.
My number one thing is like maybe not necessarily you or anyone in this panel, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that let's say Skyrim is a good game. People
Right.
are gonna shit on it naturally because it doesn't play like that standard PlayStation.
I disagree.
No, I
Even with
completely.
Spider-Man, people were running around saying, "Yo, where's Xbox a superhero game and
I
stuff
think
like
that's
that."
a loud,
So
I think that's a loud minority. I think
okay,
that's a
so
loud minority.
I'm just saying, yeah, we're just the online community, just talking, popping shit, right? Of course, the casual audience don't know what the fuck is going on over here and stuff like that. But real quick, just shift gears a little bit with the conversation. Going back to the interview, this Redfall being the state that it's in and that it launched in 50-something 9 on Metacritic right now on Xbox Series X. Does Phil Spencer do this interview and come out? He pretty much did like an apology tour. It seems like he said he was in a bad mood. He said, you know what I mean, during the whole kind of funny thing. He said he was like not in a good mood. He said he kind of wished the circumstances was different, right? Does he do this? And Starfield doesn't deliver. It doesn't meet expectations.
Starfield has to be good.
I feel like him
Starfield
even
has to
coming
be good.
real quick. Look, I feel like him coming out and doing this kind of funny interview. Yeah, we already thought Starfield had an immense pressure to put the Xbox on his back. I feel like him
He put
coming out
even
and
more
doing this.
pressure on
I
it.
feel like it puts even way more pressure on Starfield to even deliver. Because at this point, if you come out and you do this, right, and he himself didn't want to gas up any of his products, because he at this point he himself knows that we ain't trying to hear none of that shit no more. We tired of hearing that it's gonna be the best year ever. We're tired of hearing that we got so much shit cooking. Yeah, I do respect them. Once again, I do respect them coming out and saying that, like, at this point, yo, we want to play the games. We don't want to hear this. Yeah, we don't want to hear this shit no more, right? We want to actually just play it and experience the game. But I feel like him coming out and doing this kind of funny thing does put immense pressure on Starfield, and that game absolutely has to deliver on all fronts, and it has to be a quality release. Where at that point, I feel like a lot of core gamers, even not just the fanboys, the core people, I feel like we're gonna just lose way too much faith in Xbox to the point where you might not get it back. Because I think they're trying to, tread that line to the point of no return. I don't think they could.
They deserve
we
it.
could have too much. I don't think we could have too much of these Redfall types of releases anymore, Jmaine. I think they're really treading that line of that, like, yo, if Starfield it's like a stinker. If it's a stinker,
I actually feel like Redfall is worse than Crackdown.
Absolutely.
yeah. You know what? You're not even lying. You're not lying about that. You're not lying. I beat Crackdown. I beat Crackdown 3.
Got up on this PSP and said Crackdown 3 was better than Days Gone. Crackdown 3 was not a
I
bad
beat
game.
Crackdown 3. I don't think I'm gonna be able to beat Redfall, bro.
At least Crackdown's campaign was fun.
It was. I had a blast.
I already stated this. I absolutely love State of Decay 2. It's a better game than Redfall. Right?
Oh no, we're not. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Come on, we was
Redfall.
I don't like State of Decay. I tried State of Decay 2, bro. I might have did a live what did I do? A live refund when I played that. I might have did a live refund when I played State of Decay, bro. I didn't like that game, man.
I got like 8 days in that game.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing you did mention in the interview, I noticed he listed off some of the games, but there was an interesting quote he did say. I can finally see a game every quarter, so hopefully that means that they may have sorted out the problem of releasing games. Obviously, it's a hope, but it's interesting how he said that.
The thing though, Death Singer, is it doesn't matter what he says and how many games he can come out. He can come out with 10, 15 games a month. When you release something like Redfall, people are going to, they're like, let's say it would take 2 really good games for people to start having a positive image on Xbox. Redfall makes it 5. Oh, I need 5 games to make it up for this
Gaming Addicts. Hold on. Let me say something real quick. Honestly, listen, guys. Listen. You see, right now everybody's down, doom and gloom.
Way down.
Spooky, right? We're down bad right now. I'm telling
you. What they did to Halo. They most beloved franchise.
They're down. Everyone's down bad. Yo, hold on.
Spooky.
It's spooky. If Starfield hits, if it scores 88 and above, critically appraised, it's a fantastic game. I think that gives a lot of goodwill to the game. A lot of good. On top of that, Forza Motorsport's coming out this year. If that drops as well, that's like the only franchise that we know that. Yeah, that's the only franchise they have at the moment that when they announce it, we know it's gonna be a good product. And I think that's fucking sad, by the way. If it's not a Forza game, we don't know what it's gonna turn out to be. But it seems like Forza has been extremely consistent. And if they bang 1-2 punch, if Starfield is great, fantastic, and Forza Motorsport is fantastic, that's a start. You feel me?
I'm starting to think Hellblade this year too. I'm really starting because notice when he was talking about the close game, he said Hellblade 2.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about Hellblade. Hey, that's a different story. I'm a little worried. I'm a little bit worried about Hellblade.
Hellblade, I was looking forward to.
I'm a little worried about that, bro. To be honest,
you're more worried about Hellblade than
I ain't
Starfield.
gonna play Hellblade, so it's cool.
You know what?
I don't care where that game.
You know what? Hellblade, it's a game that has great potential. And I don't know if the second one, from everything that they've been showing us, it seems like this is like some Unreal Engine 5 kind of tech demo showpiece. What I want to see from Hellblade 2 is how they improved in the combat sector of that game, because that's where it needed the most
Didn't they hire
improvement.
some God of War people?
but we have seen nothing. So I'm
I
hoping.
agree. I agree.
I'm
not
hoping
arguing
this
with you about it.
showcase. I'm hoping this showcase we actually get a good look. We get it. The visuals are great, but that's one aspect of the game. We need to see the improvements of how they elevated this gameplay in Hellblade 2. And until I see that, it's starting to look like a glorified tech demo to me. I don't want to see her running back and forth. I don't want to see her screaming, making all these funny faces. I ain't trying to see that shit.
spears and
I
shit.
You know what I mean?
I
I
said
want to
on
see the
IOP
combat and how it's improved and the scale of the game. Is it still a smaller, tight-knit type of game, or is it a much bigger game? That's what I want to know.
I said on IOP, I was like, you know, when they showed that last Hellblade thing, I was like, look, they showed us it looks good. Guess what? We fucking knew that. Like,
And that's what I'm saying.
first one looked good.
I don't know. Like, I didn't really like Hellblade 1. I couldn't vibe with it. So I do think that Hellblade 2 is going to be received well. I just don't know. Being received well is an 80 plus. Being received great is like an 85 plus. I don't know how much of a jump it's going to have.
It really depends the scale and
like,
scope and how much ambitious this project is going to be. Is it going to be like a Hellblade 1 but better visuals and pretty much the same kind of similar combat system, or are they really going to elevate the franchise into something else? They haven't really discussed that too tough, so I don't know what to make of it.
I just hope they don't go too much bigger, because I think it's other areas that need to improve other than them just making it a bigger
Gotta fix
like
the combat,
world
bro.
and
The
shit like
combat
that.
of that game was
do
bare
think
bones, bro.
More
And the puzzle
intricate
game.
puzzles. Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I have a little hope for Hellblade, it's like I said, I don't even care about the game, is they did choose that particular title to reveal with the Series X in the Series X. Oh no, it was the X. So to me, them revealing that, they chose that game out of everything. So to me, it's like one would think the game they showed that console with, you would actually have faith in that, at least from the executive level of the people making the decisions.
That means we're going up on 4 years since we've seen that shit.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we have some people in here that I want them to get a chance to speak, so we don't go on too long. Raiden, what's up?
What's happening?
Yeah, quick, what's your thoughts on the whole kind of funny interview with Phil Spencer? Anything, stand out in terms of what he said that maybe we didn't discuss, or if you just want to add on to anything of your perspective on it, what did you think?
Well, I actually made a comment on Ashton Lucas stuff, and I was like, is this Phil Spencer or Kid Smooth?
Jesus.
Hey man, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
Oh dear God, that man's going through it. It is sad, but aside from that, it's like, I don't know what's the guy's what is the guy's mark? Are you trying to make Microsoft better, or are you just trying to make it worse? Like the whole CMA thing's like, wow, and then just. Man, just seeing the downfall of every Xbox fanboy, not Xbox fan in general, but Xbox fanboy, just like trying to pull some out their ass, trying to argue with everybody. It's like, and I don't want to call anyone out here, but you want to be Zen, but you want to be like, oh fuck you, oh you don't know what I'm talking about. Then fuck. I'm like. I don't know, dog. It's just looking mad spooky, and I think Kofi's like you said. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see him go down like that. I mean, you mentioned last week there was a time Xbox was killing it, especially with the 360. I just feel like, especially with the Xbox One conference, I think you could tell it was a downfall, and.
That's where everything changed, That's what, I feel like that was like the pivotal moment, because once again, prior to the reveal of the Xbox One console, there was a lot of anticipation for it, but I feel like ever since then they just never recovered from that, and yeah, man.
Eesh.
Yeah. Let's get Blades X. How do you feel about the whole kind of funny interview with Phil Spencer, and what's your takeaway from his comments?
Well, right now, I feel that Phil feels defeated. He's giving me that energy that gives up.
Giving that energy? Okay.
Yeah, I feel like since the CMA blocked the deal, he sounds like he doesn't have that fight in him right now. I don't trust Xbox right now. They sent out Halo. They saw that trailer with Craig in it. Nobody didn't complain about it. and they send that video out. They said Redfall. People tested that game and still didn't know something was wrong with it, and they still sent it out. What are they doing at Xbox? How are these people not seeing these things and dealing with these problems? That's
I agree with that. I agree with that
I can't-
sentiment of not trusting them. I definitely don't trust Xbox no more.
Yeah.
I
They
can't
lost
trust them
that.
to tell me a game is going to come out and it's going to be working good. I need to see these things. I can't trust him to say, yo, this game ain't working good, put it back. If not good, we're going to change it, we're going to work on it, bring something good for me. But these guys are not, he's not doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I talked to some like people that know the industry pretty good, and they said, because I said, look, why don't they just cancel these games? And they said it's not that simple. Like from the people providing the money, like they'd rather release that game that's undercooked as hell and get anything back from that than cancel it after it's been in development for so long. Sure, it hurts their brand, but they still get that money
That's
back.
a bad way.
It's a bad look.
Maybe
but-
maybe I don't know. Look, maybe it makes sense when they're doing their numbers, and then at the end of the day, everything's about the numbers. But I feel like it just does long-term damage if you operate that way.
Oh, it does, and you're starting to see it in the movies, like start to self-correct a little bit. Like people, I think the DC people canceled the Batman Girl, or I don't know what movie it was.
Batgirl, yeah, I think it is.
Batgirl. They canceled that, and it was done. The fucking movie was done, and they canceled.
Yeah, it's probably bad, and it was probably terrible, and they know, like, yo, we can't afford this. Yo, reputation is everything. Yo, there's a reason why that, like, yo, honestly,
but
right now we
gamers are
hear that.
fickle.
Yeah, right now we hear that Insomniac, Naughty Dog's making something, right? Just even off the rip, the majority, I know Jmaine doesn't believe in this, but the majority of people are already hyped because of pedigree. You know, like, we know what you do. You guys have a great track record of cooking, and until you fail, we going to be in there and interested in your game. That's why I think Armored Core is getting so much more attention more than ever. Because from software,
Cannot wait for that.
from once again, no, that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you how gamers. Yo, it's a fact that From Software has delivered Dark Souls, Sekiro, Bloodborne,
You can argue
Elden
they're
Ring.
the top-
That's why
one of the
there's
top
drawn so much.
five.
Yeah, everyone thinks they're
Okay, yeah.
great.
So-
Everyone
so
thinks
yeah, you're
that's why
right,
people have
you're
a
right,
remotely
you're right.
interest in it.
But
I'm
none
just
of
saying.
them niggas know about Armored Core, so that's
That's a fact.
That's the
but
beef I
that's
have with it.
not
with
even my
From Software,
point.
it's with
Yo,
the
but that's not my
people.
point though. But
the
Jimmy,
point is from
that's not my
software
point.
behind it. That's all they need to see.
That's what I'm saying, and that's
And
my
that's
point.
bullshit.
It's like
And
Zelda,
Xbox,
like-
I'm just saying, Xbox needs
Like
that kind of
Kojima.
credit. That's
But
all I'm
that's
saying,
two-
Jmaine. Xbox
that's
needs
two
that kind of
I think
credit.
that's two different examples though, because we talked about that shit last week.
I know we don't have to go too deep.
Yeah,
in
because
that.
a game like Spider-Man, we know what that's gonna be. We know what to expect with that. People that's hyped for From Software Armored Core don't know what that shit is about to be about. It's not gonna be
But
like
I'm-
Souls.
my whole
so you
point in
hyped for
bringing
some
this-
shit you don't even know about.
My whole
But
point in bringing this
continue.
up is there's something that comes up with your name, bro. Your name is important. They sometimes say your name is all you got, you know what I mean? And the reputation. And Microsoft needs to correct that in the end of the day. And that's the only point that I'm trying to bring. But real quick, I wanna just address some of these super chats. Shout out to the over 100 likes on the podcast already. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the
Appreciate
254 people watching the podcast. Share it to a friend. You know what I mean? Podcast veterans. PSP, it's a good game, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. We
Your
got a
uncle
new member.
Xbox about to have a job opening because the uncle they got over there ain't doing it.
What's it called? DC Gaming has become a member to the channel. I really do appreciate it. Shout out to all
My
the
boy
members.
DC. What up?
Mr. Lucifer. I don't condone that name, sir. But he says, Phil Spencer, bad games equals studio creativity. What's he mean by that? Bad games equals studio
Because he
creativity.
kept because Phil Spencer throughout the interview kept saying we want to have our developers be as creative as possible.
That one.
Right.
So
because he was saying like we're gonna
excuse of
release.
Redfall being a bad game.
I see.
Gameplay wise,
It
even
kinda
gameplay
felt
wise,
like he was saying, "Look, I know that you guys are disappointed and you're very underwhelmed on Redfall, but that's the game they wanted, and I just don't agree with that mindset."
Yeah.
Like, look, if anyone could have. First off, even if you thought it was 10 higher, because he said double digits, 10 to Metacritic, that's a 70 max.
Right.
So it's like, you mean to tell me that you're okay with releasing 70 games?
Well,
That
he
is
said,
true.
he said
That's
he
one
said
way to
we're
look
gonna
at it
release
too.
games in the 80s and we're gonna release games in the 60s, but he's
Yeah,
not.
it's part of the
like-
business. He did say that. He
Because
said it's part of the
he's
business.
not allowed
Everything's
his
gonna be
developers
developers
in the
to take
90s.
chances.
Yeah. Everything, not everything's
Games
gonna be a
in the
hit,
90s.
and we definitely do have to understand that. Not everything, but we
That's
hope.
definitely
We
true.
hope.
That's
We
definitely
hope
true.
every game's a hit.
Not
As a gamer,
everything
you would
can
hope
be
so,
a
right?
hit. Not
You would hope
everything
so.
can be a hit, but most games aren't that much of a miss.
Yeah, this was a very bad miss.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
you're right. You're right.
Catastrophic miss.
Yeah, you're right.
PlayStation wasn't doing this.
You're right.
This is like one of those things where you're trying to play a game where what's that, battleships, and like you shoot your own ship. Like
we got another super chat donation from Black Mamba. He says 60s and 80s. You heard what Phil said. Papa John says, I think Phil was right. Having good games won't get everyone to switch over to play Xbox primarily. They missed this opportunity with Xbox One for people to build their digital library. It is what it is. Yes, see, this is what pretty much I said long ago too, because I also seen it coming. I felt like that generation was very pivotal because a lot of change was happening in the way how gamers consume games. So at this point, yeah, I think, if we're going to PS6 off rip, I'm gonna want a PS6 off rip just based on my catalog. Right away, they're gonna do all of these promotions that your games are gonna play better. You're gonna have this new features. You're gonna get patches for some of your old classic games. So off rip, I'm gonna want a PS5 just to experience that. And if I bought
that backwards compatible shit,
I think
y'all overselling it.
No, I think it's a factor. I think it's a big factor.
It's not a
disagree
factor.
with
Since
Jmaine
when?
point. Like, even though I do agree with both of you, because I do feel like that digital library is very important, but at the same time, you're not gonna be someone's primary console right now, but you better be fighting to at least make them bitches buy a second console.
Yeah, of course. So I do. Once again, so the point. Look, in the end of the day, him coming out saying the great games point, I know that rubbed people the wrong way. It seems like Microsoft is giving up, or they're giving up, and I get that. I think for everything to fall together for what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass, the cloud, the services, in the end of the day, the major piece in this giant puzzle is them providing quality experiences that people want to play. Look, you're gonna sell more consoles. You might not sell as much as PlayStation, right? But you're gonna sell more consoles. You're gonna get more people in Game Pass. In the end of the day, if you want to drive more people to whatever you're doing, your product got to be good. And I think that's the sentiment. But I do agree that to a certain extent that people are already too deep in certain ecosystems, and
I just don't
do.
Get what that means. Like,
we
had physical libraries too back in the day, going from PS2 to 360. That didn't stop.
But he's saying it's different. No, but that's like he brought that.
Yeah.
No, because it's different now.
Why? How?
Because
your games carry.
You don't have to buy all your games again.
But I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. So if you had a PS2, right? I mean, we didn't know that PS3 wasn't going to be backwards compatible when 360 came out. If you had a PS2 and you had all these games, like you didn't care that the PS3 wasn't even out yet. You just like, yo, I'm gonna go get a 360 because they got good shit over there.
But here's the thing.
That's exactly what could happen with the Xbox.
There's a huge difference. Back then, you were unaware. I'm gonna take my shit to GameStop and get rid of that shit. Now you're stuck with these digital games that
this
you
is
have
going away.
And you do feel away if you go somewhere else where you can't take.
You got to start over.
No, you just said people were selling their whole physical libraries. So
because you could.
What's the difference?
The difference is you can't sell digital,
bro.
Jmaine, it's no different. Jmaine, it's no real quick before you get your shit off. It's no different why some people have a hate boner for the Epic Game Store and versus Steam.
That's PC players though. That's different.
No,
console people are not like that.
No, it's the same idea and concept. It's literally the same idea and concept. Why some people would prefer to buy it in this space. They already invested so much in this space. I want my games all in one spot already.
So you telling me
I want my digital library on one spot already.
I think the majority of people are buying these new consoles because they're library transfer over versus like the
but I think that's not even the library. Your player profile now, your achievements, your game library is a big one. I think overall, your friends and stuff like
all the small DLC
purchases, all that's what I'm saying. I feel like
that's old shit that you could still play on the previous hardware. But it doesn't matter when you're buying something new.
Jmaine, ready? I bought skins in Warzone because he brought up Fortnite. I bought skins in Fortnite. He's talking about the bigger picture. If I bought skins in some of these free to play games, quote unquote, and I want those skins, those purchases to carry over, I gotta now go from PS4 to PS5 or
aren't cross play and cross progression?
No, but you're trying to get the idea he's trying. No, but you're trying to get the idea what he's saying.
The majority of the games do though. Majority of the games do. Definitely
Not every
do.
game has
Jmaine is
Then we have
Jmaine is a factor. Let's not pretend that
You
this is
acting
not
like
a
it don't
factor
exist.
though.
It
It's
exists.
a factor that your
It's not a
library carrying
major
over is
factor.
important, bro.
Then we have
It's
the
not. It's not.
Especially today in modern look, back then is back then. Especially today, I think you're not giving the casual audience enough credit. I think they savvy enough to know that they would want their, especially
That
if
their
you invested
old
so much.
games is
Yeah, they
carrying-
invested this
no.
much. I think they
No.
do care.
Why
I
the
do
hell are
think-
you
But
buying new
Jmaine,
hardware
we were
to
just-
carry over old games? That don't make sense.
Jmaine, some of the best games that Jmaine, real quick, Game Night, some of the best games that released this year, Jmaine.
So stay on
We
that
just had
shit.
to
So
some of the
stay
best
on
games are
hardware.
old fucking
So stay
games,
on
are remakes,
so stay on
remakes of
remakes,
old games, bro.
Old hardware, bro. Stay on the
stop-
hardware.
stop
Why
with
you
this
buying
old
new
game
hardware
hate.
to-
One of the
why
best
are you
games this
buying
year
new
was the
hardware
old
to play
games.
old
Jay-
games? That makes no sense.
That's it.
We don't have to have the same type of mentality we had a couple minutes ago. You're one person. A lot of people look how many people like just something as a physical library, and they keep that shit forever. It's just like look, you actually can touch that shit and get rid of it at any time you want. People are gonna feel away, maybe not you, but people are gonna feel away if they spend $1,000+ an entire generation, and they're like, "Yo, I want to go to another platform, but I'm gonna lose all that shit." Sure, they ain't never gonna play that shit, but they want to keep it.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
That's
But
not-
other
that's not-
platforms
that's
have
not-
Game Pass.
that's not a factor, man.
See, but this is not an excuse. But this is not an excuse for Microsoft not to try, though. I don't want to come off as that. You understand me?
I agree
this is
with that. I
this is
agree
not
with
an
that.
excuse for Microsoft not to try. For them saying that, this is, if you feel like it's like I'm coming off damage control. No, once again, Microsoft has to deliver great games for whatever venture they're trying to do. They feel like they can't compete with PlayStation when it comes to console versus console. And we've had this conversation plenty of times. We've seen people on Twitter say, "Yo, PlayStation 150 million sold, 120 million sold. Xbox can't compete. Xbox can't sell consoles in Japan. Xbox can't do Europe." You think Microsoft at this point might not know? Like, yo, fuck, we gotta switch up our gaming strategy right now because if this continues, we're just getting smoked. We can't
The
compete.
pushback
Right.
I have with that, Kofi, is why do they feel like that when in a generation like the 360 they were able to sell?
Yeah,
like
but you have
80
to
million
but look at the
consoles?
bigger honestly, Jmaine. But once again, it's a nuanced conversation. Look at the bigger picture. Look what happened. Let's not pretend that the PlayStation 3 did not literally fuck up right out the gate with a stupid pricey ass console, trash launch things like that. So let's not pretend that PlayStation didn't do an immense fuck up with the PS3 and worked so hard to get it to this place that it wasn't by the time like The Last of Us released and shit like that. Let's not pretend
That's true.
that.
And
It's
that-
part
that's
of its
true.
history. It's
PlayStation-
part of its history.
Hold on. Because in addition to what you just said, the 360 also faltered its lead at the end of the generation, which
Due
is
to
something
bad
that I'm
games.
saying that they did not continue with the process that they had through the 360 generation from beginning to end, which is
agree with
why
that.
things faltered and going into the Xbox One and them leading with the TV bullshit
The reason
and
why-
a higher price console. So that's why I feel like they haven't even tried to make a dent into the market share when it comes to getting people to stay with their console. They only did it
reason
for
why-
damn near
Bro.
half a generation, and after that, it was like, okay, we can't do this no more.
The reason why people
Like, they're
switched
not
to the
even trying.
360 was good games. The reason why the PS3 started to catch up
Exactly.
at the end of the generation was
Was
good
'cause
games.
good games.
The
The
Exactly.
reason why the
And then
PS4
you're
won
right,
the
you're right.
generation was good games.
Good
So-
games.
So Phil coming out to say, "Hey, good games won't help sell consoles."
I get it.
or
I get it.
won't-
I get it.
Hold on.
It's just a lie. It's just
Because
a lie.
the market
I
share.
agree, but I agree, but I disagree. I honestly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do
But
get what
here's
you're
the
trying
thing,
to say.
though. Like, exclusives give you an identity, but they're not the core reason that these consoles sell the reason they sell. It's because of Call of Duty marketing. It's because of marketing Madden. These are the reasons these games sell the most.
The
Yeah,
360
why these
sold
games
because
click.
of Halo. Let's talk about the
So you don't
360
think-
sold
you don't
because
think
of
having
Gears.
And Gears.
Call of
Gears,
Duty
yeah.
helped. The exclusive,
think
the
having-
exclusive
you
rights
don't
helped
think-
with Call of Duty, but
You don't
if
think
there was
Modern
no
Warfare 2
Halo,
helped them sell at all?
if there was no
What happened?
Halo, no Gears, nobody
No,
would
no,
care
no,
about
no,
the
no,
Xbox 360.
No, but
That's
no.
facts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay,
agree with
those
Low.
are
That's
no, honestly
facts.
low. You're right. Those games were at its peak on the 360. But let's not forget. Let's not throw too much dirt on the third party things. The third party games all played. Majority of them played way better on the
Better on the
360. I
Xbox.
remember
That's true.
Skyrim. I remember
True as well.
Bayonetta on the how it played on the PS3. These games. The third party releases were much better on Xbox. It was just a better console to have overall, but in the end of the day, PlayStation still ended up catching up and overtaking the 360. You know what I'm saying? So
And they burnt all that good.
once again,
in the
I
next
think
generation.
this is a good people bring up Nintendo real quick. People bring up Nintendo and how they pivoted and how they evolved to survive in this industry and still excel in the industry.
Right.
Let's not forget when Nintendo started with the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo. Very traditional consoles. That's what gaming was at the time, right? That's what we know. Very traditional. Once N64, that's a traditional console. GameCube, traditional console. But the thing is, the competition that was coming in the industry at the time with the PlayStation and Xbox were providing something that Nintendo couldn't compete against, especially the PlayStation, right? So what does Nintendo do? Do they fight the same battle as PlayStation? Does that mean they gave up? No, they switched up the way they were thinking out the box. They switched up their way and introduced this whole motion game and shit. And from there, they did the Wii with the tablet, which was a failure. But from there, it led on to the Switch, this hybrid type of console. So I think Nintendo knows when it comes to the high end market, right? Jmaine, I really believe this. I don't think Nintendo could drop a console just like the PS5. Like they could drop a console like just like the PS5, but it won't be nearly as successful as something like the PS5. Because
I disagree.
I don't think they could compete.
I disagree.
I don't think they could compete.
I disagree. Because
You think they could drop a high-powered console and it'll be just? I don't think so. I think they need a gimmick. I think
has
they
been
need to
shooting themselves in the foot since the Nintendo 64. With the third-party support is non-existent on the Nintendo platform. 64 did not get a majority of the third-party games, which is why the PlayStation 1 saw as much success as it did, and it's been that way ever since. So when Nintendo is, conditioning people to not have the third-party games, and then they're focusing on the first-party games that they're making, of course, that's what they're gonna have to do. They're gonna have to pivot to combine their handheld and home console the development situation to make those games that appeal to that, because they don't have third-party support. And we just got finished talking about how third-party support is probably the reason why people buy these consoles, and then the first-party stuff is what keeps them around. Nintendo's a whole different situation. They don't compete because they can't, because they don't have the third-party support. Xbox did, and they fucked that up.
But you're kind of saying my point. My whole point is saying that they couldn't compete in that front. They couldn't compete in the front.
They didn't try. They didn't try.
No, but
the 64.
No, but the
GameCube did not get third-party support like that either. On those mini ass discs? No.
Or the Wii.
Yeah, they didn't.
Or the Wii.
Or the Wii U.
They did not try.
The Nintendo Switch generation.
So you're saying that they didn't try. So you're constituting that they didn't try though.
I don't think the first generation with the Switch.
I feel that Nintendo knows that they can't compete on this high end market. I feel like they know they have to find different ways that to appeal to gamers, like different ways to play, gimmicks, whether it be motion, whether it be portability, whether it be. I feel like that's what they gotta do to sell consoles. I don't think Nintendo could drop a high end console just like the PlayStation, regular console, just with a regular controller and do as well. I don't think they can.
Kofi, let me ask you a question.
Hold on.
Because with the Switch generation, it's been year after year, they've been releasing Game of the Year contenders. These are huge games, great games. Do you think you're telling me if they release those on a high-end console that now the people who are buying Switches wouldn't buy? You know why? You
know why?
Great games, Game of the
Year.
No,
you know why? Let me dunk on your point. You know why? Because the difference between the Wii and this high-end console and the Switch and this high-end console, regular traditional console you speak of, is that you're not getting the soccer moms, you're not getting the certain kids, you're not getting certain audiences that Nintendo now targets. You understand? You're not getting those audiences.
Let me
hear what you say. Hasn't said anything.
I wanted to actually like pivot off of what you said. One of the reasons why Nintendo is in this position they're in is because unlike Sony and Microsoft, they make games that pretty much will appeal to not just one type of game. Because I remember when Animal Crossing was coming out, not just in your Discord, but in other Discord, like, other communities, people were saying this game not finna do nothing, it's not finna sell or whatever. Like, where's the gameplay? And that game sold like over 40 million copies,
1 billion
mostly
copies.
at full price too. So that's what people
don't lower those prices.
No sales.
That's what I'm saying. Nintendo's net cat is a lot wider. That's why I feel like if they were just to focus and make a hardcore gaming machine, just like the PS5, they probably won't be as successful as the PS5.
And
It
to
don't
be
have to-
honest with you,
Go ahead.
Jmaine, I think that Nintendo will go for third parties if they're able to, but I don't think they care. I really don't, because it's easier to sell the Zeldas, the Advance Wars, when you don't have these third parties running wild on your system. Like they'd rather take 100% of their shit than 30% of other people's shit.
Because they found the formula that worked. But you telling me back in the N64 days, they didn't feel like the 64 being shitted on in that generation, that they was like, damn, we might have fucked up.
Also, I'd like to add that
my whole point in bringing up Nintendo's pivot is I feel like Microsoft is pretty much trying to do the same. You know, just to circle back to the main topic at hand, I feel like Microsoft's kind of trying to do the same in a similar light by all the service shit that they're doing with Game Pass, because they know that they're not going to beat PlayStation when it comes to just traditional style gaming. And I think it's fine to acknowledge that. I think they live in reality.
Why won't Phil Spencer acknowledge it?
I wish they tried.
He did. He literally did. He did. Kind of funny. He literally just said they can't compete with that.
No, time out. He said the Xbox console is the core of Xbox gaming. That's what he said.
No, what he said is
he did. He admitted the console shit is over. It's over.
Yeah, he literally admitted that. Yeah. Alex, what's good, Alex?
What's up, man?
How you doing, man?
It's Trolex.
I'm glad that you're able to pop in. I'm glad you're able to pop in. We're currently talking about the whole Phil Spencer interview on Kinda Funny. You want to give the people your take on the whole situation? How did you feel about it, and like, what's your takeaways? Pretty much, like, what's your takeaway?
I think they're trying. It's kind of weird to say. It's almost like, I know I'm gonna get flack for it, but I think they're trying to be like Nintendo in a weird way. They're trying to find an avenue that they can be successful in. Because they're not going to do it in the typical console space. Sony has that locked up. They've got third-person action-adventure games locked up. They're not going to touch that. So they have to compete in some other way. And the argument that he made was like, we can't do that because there's people are not going to, even if, like you said, if Starfield was an 11 out of 10, they're not going to sell their PlayStations to buy an Xbox just for Starfield. That doesn't make sense. However, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of good games in that service. They can be a service-based company, that's fine. They still have to have IPs that people want to play while using it. So even if they get to second place or whatever, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the fact that they'll be able to provide some sort of content that people want to be happy of enjoying, regardless of having a console or a service. They just have to be able to manifest that. That's what Nintendo did. They said the Wii U flopped.
Alex says everything that I said, but he says it in a nice way,
the
man.
Wii U flopped, so we have to go do something different. Where are we good at? The Switch. We're good at handhelds. How do we take the Wii U into one handheld and do that? Because what's the one thing every Nintendo fanboy says? It's portable, right? That's why they wanted it. But then now you have Zelda on the go. You've got Metroid portably. So if you're able to do that for Xbox, but the thing is Xbox doesn't have a Metroid, a Zelda, a Mario. That's what they need. They need those titles to back up the services that they want to produce, because it's a good idea of what they're trying to do. You just have to be able to have the content to back up that idea, but they don't. And that's the issue.
Yo, this guy literally just said everything I said, but in just a nice, clean way. In a nice, clean way. I appreciate you, Alex. See, I miss you, bro. You said everything. I literally said exactly what I said, but in a nice, clean way.
You kicked me out of the podcast because I was using
get out of here. Oh, get out of here. Here we go. Here we go. You see what I'm at? Oh my god. This guy got too gassed. Look at this guy.
Here's what happens. I get all these subs, I get all these views. Kofi gets jealous and cancels the show.
Then invites you back on the pod, right?
Later, he's like, hey guys, I don't have time to do a podcast. It's getting really crazy. 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, hey, I'm good gaming now. Me and Jmaine got a podcast together.
I'm gonna be real with you, Kofi. It is awfully convenient that these happen together.
Y'all have no idea what I was going through. I'm
just giving him a hard time.
Y'all have no idea what I was going through at the crib. Sir. But if y'all want to take, I'm glad that Alex was able to drop by. You know what I mean? I always supported Alex and everything that he does. He's doing big things out there, yo. I see what you cooking. I see
the content you're making. How about maybe next time you make a video, it's not just you playing on a computer with a voiceover.
Wait, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
I don't
your
watch
lad,
your
boy.
content either.
He wants you to
But
take
what's
the shirt off.
what's wrong with what's wrong with
You think
what's
Nobody wants
cookies?
to
You didn't
see,
like it?
Nobody wants to see your weird piano fingers playing on a keyboard.
You think Redfall deserves better editing though? You're like,
Yo, that was a 3-minute video. Yeah, I wasn't cooking up too much for that. Yo, I was doing this simple. I was doing this simple with that one. Yeah,
That's too much.
I get Redfall 3.
Nothing.
Hold on. I stopped watching your reviews, Kofi, when you did
Which one?
a Forza Horizon 5 3-minute review video.
Wow.
Was it 3 minutes?
It's like, it was 3 minutes, man. It might have not even been 3. It might have been 2 and some change.
You know what it is? Listen, I know people on YouTube like to hit the 10-15 minute mark strictly for money, but no, I feel like I get my point
3 minutes
conveyed.
is-
I could get my point. Look, all my recent
know a
videos have been
secret?
5 to 6 minutes.
I bet
5
you
to
that
6
watch
minutes.
time was trash.
Do you want to know a secret?
No.
It doesn't matter the 8 to 10 minute mark. What matters is the watch time. If you have a 5-minute video that 100% of the people watch all 5 minutes, that's worth more than 50% of the people watching a 16-minute video.
Yeah. Now, when I make a video, first of all, the level of editing that I go do since I'm doing like this whole B-roll shit.
You do good. decent editing. I will say that.
6 minutes, I'm getting my point conveyed, and I don't waste words. I try not to waste words. So I have shit penned out that I'm trying to, convey. So most of my shit, I feel like I get straight to the point. What else do I have to drag on and waste time to say to hit a 10-minute mark? Like, if I get to my point, I get to my point. Yeah, Redfall wasn't getting more. Bro, I made that on the fly, bro. I'm like, I'm not wasting too much money, and this shit's doing well on the channel right now, so I ain't mad at it. This shit doing well on the channel, so I'm good. But did everyone get a chat? Yeah, what's up, GI?
Market share.
I just wanted to say like one last thing. They're essentially, it just kind of, I would say, I guess like confuses me as to why currently I would say Microsoft has the most studios than both Sony or Microsoft, but puts out the least games. I think it was Blandrew who brought this up, but he was like, but Nintendo has put out like an exclusive, at least one exclusive a month the entire time, this entire year so far. And I think this could go for Sony as well. It would help Microsoft if they made just smaller games. Like if they weren't trying, like I remember like you guys were talking earlier about like how ambitious like Hellblade 2 is or Starfield or all these other games. But I think if Microsoft and Sony made just smaller AA titles, they would have periods
I feel like they do
where
though.
they didn't
It's
have as
gone
many,
now though.
to where they have as many droughts in a sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Because they talk about how like game development prices is through the roof and going crazy, and they can't release them as frequently and stuff like that. Which I got a little pushback. I got a little pushback against that too, because they that's that other man's money. Stop counting Satya's pockets.
Yeah. Hey, Jmaine, get off your pony high horse, dog. Come on. You know what that man was trying to say.
Who, Phil?
Yeah, Phil.
Nah, I don't agree with that market share shit.
Bro.
Because the market will increase if they're able to provide great games for Xbox, right? So if the market is what it is, and Xbox continues to create great games for people to buy Xboxes, because they out there, they sitting on them shelves waiting to be bought. So now you have a bigger market, and Xbox is more of a factor within that market. So yeah, you're not gonna do it overnight. You're not gonna do it over one generation, but it could be a start. And I feel like he's giving up.
I think
also like he can't. He said he can't just drop good games back to back. That's not going to do much as them making all these services on top of that.
Hold on, let me
Like, they
piggyback.
have to make these services on top of good games. They can't just make good games.
Talk your shit,
Yeah,
Benji.
but they need to have these good games to get the people on the services that they're providing. If they don't have good games, what's the point of getting Game Pass? To play old games again?
Yeah, so
To play
look, see, the original problem.
Generations ago?
Yeah, see, so the original problem, once again, we always come back to just Microsoft's first party output and the games that they release. It always just circles back to that point. If in whatever venture that they're trying to do, the amazing games need to be at the center of it. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it has to be part of the experience. So Microsoft will not find success until they're able to push out quality releases. And when it comes to first party, consistently, we expect that's where it's a shine, especially on your home console. You're doing this whole PC thing. We expect your first party games that you develop to be, the outline, to be the shine in the games. You know what I mean? Like, we get excited for PlayStation, Nintendo first party games because we know that they take advantage of the hardware, and we know we're gonna get a quality product. Microsoft needs to be outside Forza. I feel like we don't get that no more. We don't know what to expect from a first party game from a Microsoft studio, and they need to just fix their reputation. And the only way they do that is by consistently dropping quality releases. So
I agree with what Phil Spencer said to a point, especially when it comes to taking on these territories. They don't have a law. Well, guess what, Phil? These territories you're getting your ass beat in, actually go out there, get timed exclusives, make games that appeal to those audiences. You don't have any JRPG and you wonder why you're getting your ass beat in the other territories that love JRPGs. So it's just like, at the end of the day, I do understand the Xbox brand in general has a huge hill to fight up, but the majority of these issues will be solved by getting good games.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe 25% is the services, the messaging, the price. Sure, I agree with them on that. But it's just like, no, you get good games, and like all this shit that people talk about now of Redfall, if Starfield comes out and it hits the way that they claim it's gonna hit, no one gonna be talking about Redfall.
That's true.
I agree. So
we got a short attention span. So
we do.
we on to the next one.
Yeah. We at that mark where I gotta go take care of baby.
Baby.
I gotta go take care of baby. We at that mark. It's my turn. So we're gonna wrap up the show. We pretty much covered the two major topics that we want to discuss. I want to thank everybody. It was open mic night. I want to thank everyone who came through to get their shit off. I think I have some super chat donations I actually missed, so I'm gonna read those before we completely wrap up the podcast. But let's see if I can find it. Credibility 80s.
Alex must have heard me giving him credit earlier. That's why he pulled up.
It's usually what
right.
happens. Like
Right.
people are like, "Oh, I started talking about you," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Make sure you edit that part out, Kofi. Thank you.
I think. Oh no, I already read that one. Okay, so this is the last super chat that I haven't read. This one's from John Donuts. He says, "I'll let the games do the talking." Jim, Big Boss Ryan, future of gaming PlayStation event 2020. This quote represents the insane gap between PlayStation and Xbox. That's what he says.
Nah, we ain't jacking that quote because that's the same quote.
Yeah, but
where he was talking
hold on.
about exclusive PS5 games.
Also make that same quote where he was like, "We can't make our games unless we have Call of Duty."
He did quote that too, you know.
Quote,
he did that. He did say that too. He did say that too.
So I'm trying to figure out like what's the deal.
Yeah, Jim Ryan be on that bullshit.
Yeah, man.
As he should be, but fuck that.
They're all lying. Look, they're all lying. There's no reason to trust any of them.
Exactly. PR talk by everyone. All right, so we're gonna wrap up. Shout out to everyone who came through. Shout out to everyone who hit the like button. Jmaine, want to close out?
Yes, sir. Appreciate everybody tuning in to another great episode of Good Gaming. Make sure y'all hit that like button on the way out the door, and tell your grandmother we got a good show going on over here. She ain't got nothing to do but watch.
Hey, yo.
Of course, follow us on our individual channels and unsubscribe from Oh No, It's Alex. Thank you. Have a blessed night.
Hey, I'm about to hit 44K. So when are you gonna make a content, Jmaine? Like, what's going
Oh
on?
man.
You know what I'm saying? Life is hard, man. You know how it goes.
Yeah, life is hard.
Life get hard, man.
Life is hard.
He learned how to swim and everything,
You learned how to swim?
What it is.
You didn't burst into flames when you got in the water?
Yeah, I know black people can't swim. I was trying to tell him earlier. Get this work. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it. And yeah, we